Chapter 1428. A total of 8 Supreme Elders from the Law Enforcement Hall had attacked together. In Ao Mo's opinion, even if they could not suppress Chu Fengmian, they could at least delay him. They were in the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension. The news of Chu Fengmian creating havoc in the Law Enforcement Hall would soon spread throughout the entire Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension. He dared to attack Luokong because he had received permission from the others. Otherwise, Ao Mo would not have dared to attack the Holy Dragon sect even though he was Emperor Gu. As long as he could stall for enough time and wait for the arrival of other experts, today's crisis would be easily resolved. However, he did not expect Chu Fengmian to break the law so easily. When he saw Chu Fengmian's figure approaching him, his face turned pale. Of course, he knew why Chu Fengmian was looking for trouble with him. If he fell into Chu Fengmian's hands, it would be more painful than death. 5 Elements Attack. Seeing Chu Fengmian approaching him, Ao Mo shouted and did not dare to hold back anymore. 5 spiritual swords flew out from beside him. The 5 spiritual swords represented the power of the 5 elements. Each spiritual sword contained an incomparably ancient aura. They were at least heaven-grade spiritual weapons from the ancient times. The power of each spiritual sword was superior to that of an ordinary heaven-grade spiritual weapon. The combined power of the 5 spiritual swords was no less than the 2 spiritual swords in Chu Fengmian's hands. 5 Elements Spiritual Swords? These are the 5 Elements spiritual swords that Luokong obtained. Seeing the 5 Elements spiritual swords that suddenly appeared beside Ao Mo, Chu Fengmian's eyes were extremely cold. It was because of this set of 5 Elements spiritual swords that Luokong had met with a calamity and almost died. This enmity was absolutely irreconcilable. 5 Elements Attack. Turn into a sword formation. The 5 Elements spiritual swords flew out from Ao Mo's body and turned into a sword formation in front of him, blocking Chu Fengmian. With your strength, even if I give you 50 more, you won't be able to stop me. Seeing the 5 Elements spiritual swords turn into a sword formation, Chu Fengmian smiled disdainfully. Sword formation, is it? I'll let you see what a real sword formation is. As Chu Fengmian spoke, streaks of sword light flew out beside him. The sword lights were densely packed and flew out from Chu Fengmian's body. There were more than 1,000 of them. Supreme Sword Chi. Every single sword chi was a Supreme Sword Chi. There were a total of 1,800 Supreme Sword Chis flying out. Chu Fengmian pointed the tip of his sword at the 1,800 strands of Supreme Sword Chi, which immediately transformed into a sword formation. They charged towards the sword formation formed by the 5 Elements spiritual swords. For a moment, countless sword shadows were clashing in the air. These 5 Elements spiritual swords were indeed rare treasures. Among the countless spiritual swords Chu Fengmian had seen, there were very few that could be stronger than these 5 Elements spiritual swords. However, the clash of sword formations was not only about the power of the sword edges, but also the profoundness of the sword techniques. Ao Mo's swordsmanship was nothing compared to Chu Fengmian's. With a crisp sound, a gap was created in the sword formation formed by the 5 Elements spiritual swords. The 5 Elements spiritual swords were all sent flying and scattered in all directions. Ao Mo's expression changed drastically when he saw this. He hurriedly tried to retrieve the 5 Elements spiritual swords and form a new sword formation. However, Chu Fengmian's speed was even faster than his. With a flash of a dragon claw, the 5 Elements spiritual swords all landed in Chu Fengmian's palm. These 5 Elements spiritual swords were never yours. Today, they are returned to their rightful owner. Chu Fengmian sneered. He held the 5 Elements spiritual swords tightly in his palm and immediately shrouded them with his dragon power. Now that Chu Fengmian had awakened the power of ancestor Jianwang's bloodline, his dragon power was completely different from before. The 5 Elements spiritual swords were still struggling in Chu Fengmian's palm, but they immediately quieted down when they were shrouded by Chu Fengmian's dragon power. Then, they were enveloped by Chu Fengmian's spiritual power. The imprint that Ao Mo had left on them was completely erased and the 5 Elements spiritual swords became ownerless again. However, Chu Fengmian didn't refine the 5 elements spiritual swords. This was an opportunity that belonged to Luo Kang. Chu Fengmian wouldn't steal his junior brother's treasure. He put the 5 elements spiritual swords into his spatial ring. On the other side, Aomo's face turned ashen when he saw the 5 elements spiritual swords fall into Chu Fengmian's hands. Aomo didn't hesitate. He immediately urged his flight light to turn around and leave. The 5 elements spiritual swords were his last resort. Now that Chu Fengmian had taken them away, Aomo no longer had any thoughts of resisting Chu Fengmian. Trying to escape? However, how could Chu Fengmian give Aomo the chance to escape? He had been watching Aomo for a long time. Chu Fengmian's purpose in coming to the law enforcement hall was to kill Aomo. The moment Aomo urged his flight light, Ancestor Jianwang's power was activated in Chu Fengmian's body. Tianlong change. Immediately, the surrounding space began to change. Under the power of the ancestral heavenly dragon, Chu Fengmian had become the ruler of this world. As Chu Fengmian pointed his finger, the space around Aomo immediately became 1,000,000 times more solid. He wanted to urge his flight light to escape, but he found that he couldn't even take a step forward. Suppress. Chu Fengmian looked at Aomo expressionlessly. The battle dragon claw condensed above his head and pressed down on Aomo. Hall Master, save me. Aomo screamed as he retreated. He didn't dare imagine what kind of pain he would suffer if he fell into Chu Fengmian's hands. Stop, vile being. The law enforcement hall master had taken advantage of this period of time to recover from his injuries. When he heard Aomo's shout, his expression changed drastically. Myriad worlds of Dharma and logos. The law enforcement hall master and the other supreme elders made their move at the same time. Countless formations in the law enforcement hall were activated in an instant and integrated into their power. They turned into a gate that suppressed Chu Fengmian. The gate of Dharma and logos. The law enforcement hall's set guarding spiritual weapon flew out, exuding an ancient power that suppressed Chu Fengmian. This spiritual weapon is good stuff. It's very similar to the primeval bronze gate. I obtained it and integrated it into my body. It's a perfect match for the primeval bronze gate to protect my body. Chu Fengmian's eyes lit up when he saw the gate of Dharma and logos. He recognized it at a glance. It was also an incomparably ancient spiritual weapon. The law enforcement hall was crushed by Chu Fengmian's power because of the suppression of the gate of Dharma and logos. Chapter 1429. The moment the door of Dharma and logos appeared, the surrounding heavens and earth were suppressed. Even Chu Fengmian felt an immense pressure. Within the law enforcement hall, countless formations soared into the sky, injecting a steady stream of power into the door of Dharma and logos. In an instant, all the law enforcement hall disciples found a core and continuously condensed their spiritual energy, injecting it into the door of Dharma and logos. The spiritual energy of thousands of law enforcement hall disciples was injected into the door of Dharma and logos. Even the remaining 6 supreme elders of the law enforcement hall poured their spiritual energy into the door of Dharma and logos. Dazzling ancient patterns emerged on the door of Dharma and logos. The door of Dharma and logos. Beside him, Qingming's expression changed slightly. She had also heard that the law enforcement hall had a set guarding spiritual weapon, which was the door of Dharma and logos. Junior brother, let me help you. Making a prompt decision, Qingming condensed her spiritual energy into a streak of green light in her palm and came to Chu Fengmian's side. No need. It's just a spiritual weapon. Senior sister, you don't have to do anything. Just watch. Hearing Qingming's words, Chu Fengmian suddenly spoke in a relaxed manner. Then, he took a step forward and faced the door of Dharma and logos alone. Arrogant. Evil creature, you're finished. Who do you think you are to contend with the door of Dharma and logos alone? A celestial being? Seeing Chu Fengmian step out, many of the law enforcement hall's supreme elders had mocking expressions on their faces and began to ridicule him. Even the law enforcement hall master's lips curled into a cold sneer, his eyes full of hatred. Boy, it's useless even if you beg for mercy now. Today, you and the Holy Dragon sect will be destroyed. No one can save you. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking. With the accumulation of power, the power of the door of Dharma and Logos was urged to the extreme. The law enforcement hall master's mind controlled the door of Dharma and Logos, aiming it at Chu Fengmian and immediately enveloping him. Die! When the door of Dharma and Logos appeared, the heavens and earth wailed. A series of roars resounded as the surrounding space collapsed. Even the heavens and earth could not withstand the power of the door of Dharma and Logos and began to crumble. Beside Chu Fengmian, everything turned into nothingness. The power of the gate of Dharma and Logos had already locked Chu Fengmian in place, making it impossible for him to escape even if he wanted to. Can this person withstand the gate of Dharma and Logos? That's impossible. The gate of Dharma and Logos is the most important weapon of the law enforcement hall. Countless Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations have died under the gate of Dharma and Logos. There's no way this kid can resist it. Many experts in the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension were watching the battle. Within the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm, the relationships between the various sects and halls were extremely complicated. This battle was a grudge between the Holy Dragon sect and the Law Enforcement Hall. Many of the experts from the Martial Tyrant Hall and the 10,000 Dragon Hall were already present. They were just watching the battle. No one was willing to interfere. The Law Enforcement Hall also had countless enemies in the Holy Dragon Mystery Plane. It was already a good thing that these enemies did not kick them when they were down. Why would they help them? If the Law Enforcement Hall was really destroyed in Chu Fengmian's hands today, it was likely that the remaining survivors would be wiped out in an instant. Of course, if Chu Fengmian lost this battle, it would be the Holy Dragon sect that would be destroyed. He's able to force the Law Enforcement Hall to use all their trump cards at the Quasi-Emperor realm. This kid is already a legend. This battle will definitely be recorded in history. One of the Emperor Gu sighed. Unfortunately, he's still too reckless. Indeed, Yunzun dared to make a scene back then because Yunzun's realm had already reached the level of the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. His strength had also reached the half-step celestial realm. No one could do anything to him. This kid's aptitude is even more monstrous than Yunzun back then. However, he's still too impatient. The moment the gate of Dharma and Logos fell, countless spectating experts already felt that this battle had come to an end. Under the gate of Dharma and Logos, Chu Fengmian was bound to lose. Die! Die! Aomo, who was suppressed by the heavenly dragon transformation, also shouted excitedly. If Chu Fengmian died, the set of 5 elements spirit swords that had been taken away would once again fall into his hands. This spiritual weapon is indeed a good item, but you're not qualified to use such a supreme treasure. It was only when the gate of Dharma and Logos approached that Chu Fengmian slowly opened his mouth. 9 Profound Sword Technique. First Style. Voracious Wolf. Boom! Suddenly, the sky above the Law Enforcement Hall became incomparably dark. In this darkness, specks of stars appeared. One sword to change day and night. This was the power of the 9 Profound Sword Technique, which was created based on the 9 Profound Sword Technique. The power of the stars shrouded Chu Fengmian's palm. In an instant, he slashed out with his sword. The power of the stars integrated into the blade and turned it into a Milky Way that bombarded the Dharmic Logos gate. The gate of Dharma and Logos immediately fell into this Milky Way. Rumble. In this Milky Way, the gate of Dharma and Logos was constantly being eroded by countless sword chi. The accumulated power on it was being broken one after another. The gate of Dharma and Logos was a spiritual weapon with unparalleled power. It was not inferior to the archaic Bronze Gate in any way. Unfortunately, it was the same as Emperor Gu's Bronze Gate. Given the strength of the Law Enforcement Hall Master, he was not qualified to use its full power. Only a 9 tribulations Emperor Gu could truly control a spiritual weapon of this level. As for using its full power, it was something that only a half-step celestial being could do. The power of thousands of Law Enforcement Hall disciples and 7 Emperor Gu's power was indeed enormous. However, this power was also incomparably chaotic. When it fell into the Milky Way and was eroded by countless sword chi, its power was immediately dispersed. The law enforcement hall master was dumbfounded when he saw this scene. He had not expected this outcome. Kill! This kid's power is suppressing the gate of Dharma and Logos. Now let's kill him directly. The law enforcement hall master was decisive. When he saw Chu Fengmian suppressing the gate of Dharma and Logos, his eyes immediately surged with murderous intent. His figure flickered, and in an instant, he was in front of Chu Fengmian. A palm bombarded Chu Fengmian. Behind the law enforcement hall master, the 6 supreme elders also attacked together. The power of 7 people transformed into an incomparably huge palm print and bombarded toward Chu Fengmian. How dare an ant overturn the sky? Chu Fengmian's lips curled into a somewhat disdainful smile. Chu Fengmian was still wary of the gate of Dharma and Logos, but now, these supreme elders of the law enforcement hall had joined forces. It was not worth mentioning. 9 Profound Swordsmanship, the second style, Giant Gate. Rumble. The power of the stars in the sky fell again and integrated into Chu Fengmian's sword blade. The first style of the 9 Profound Swordsmanship, Greedy Wolf, was an endless and unbreakable Milky Way. As for the second style, Giant Gate, it was a killing blow that contained pure power. Chapter 1430. Chu Fengmian took a step forward, and the tip of his sword fell. The first person to face this fatal strike was the law enforcement hall master. The law enforcement hall master did not expect Chu Fengmian's strength to be so terrifying. While suppressing the gate of jurisprudence, Chu Fengmian still had the strength to deal with them. But now, there was no way out. Kill! The law enforcement hall master's power erupted, and the blood essence all over his body burned. All of his strength erupted at this moment, and even his foundation as a sovereign, the laws of heaven and earth, burned fiercely. Under this burning power, the law enforcement hall master's strength increased by 7 to 8 times. He was incomparably furious and wanted to fight to the death with Chu Fengmian. Do you think you can stop me? Chu Fengmian smiled disdainfully when he saw that the law enforcement hall master was going all out. The moment the sword light flashed, the law enforcement hall master's body was cut in half. He was the hall master of the law enforcement hall, one of the 8 halls. Not to mention the sacred dragon secret dimension, even in the entire Daluo star field, he was a well-known figure. But today, he had fallen, killed by Chu Fengmian's sword. The spectating experts of the Holy Dragon Secret Realm were all dumbfounded, and their mouths were wide open. The experts who thought that Chu Fengmian was definitely going to die did not know what to say now. This reversal was too earth-shattering. Originally, they thought that Chu Fengmian was already in a hopeless situation and would die without a doubt. But in a short moment, there was a huge change. Not only was the gate of jurisprudence suppressed by Chu Fengmian, but the law enforcement hall master was also killed by Chu Fengmian. The 8 hall masters had not fallen for thousands of years. Unless a fierce war broke out, it was impossible for such a big figure to fall. Who would have thought that the law enforcement hall master would die at the hands of Chu Fengmian, a puny quasi-emperor? Looking at the bloody mist that filled the sky, countless experts of the Holy Dragon Secret Realm felt a chill in their hearts. Chu Fengmian was too crazy, not only because of Chu Fengmian's strength, but also because of Chu Fengmian's crazy character. Attacking the law enforcement hall recklessly was an act of making an enemy of the entire Holy Dragon Secret Realm. Back then, Yunzun did not dare to kill a hall master, but now Chu Fengmian had done it. If this person doesn't die, we must not make an enemy of the Holy Dragon sect. Many supreme elders of the Martial Tyrant Hall and Thousand Dragon Hall showed their fear. They no longer had any intention of making an enemy out of Chu Fengmian. The law enforcement hall master's death shocked everyone's heart. Chu Fengmian Yun's, Chu Fengmian's, blood was Chu Fengmian's, Chu was Fengmian, Chu's Chu Fengmian's, S's Fenes. When he was in the 9 mystic celestial sovereigns' cave, Chu Fengmian had killed many Emperor Gu and fused their blood essences into the divine tree, which gave him great benefits. Chu Fengmian was still worried about where he could get Emperor Gu's blood essence. Now that the law enforcement hall had delivered itself to his doorstep, Chu Fengmian would not be polite. And all of you, Die. After killing the law enforcement hall's hall master, the tip of the sword was pointed at the supreme elders of the law enforcement hall behind him. No! A law enforcement hall master's body exploded the moment he came into contact with the tip of the sword. I'm Emperor Gu. I've stepped into the realm of Emperor Gu with great difficulty. How can I die today? No! Don't kill me. The supreme elders of the law enforcement hall became incomparably crazy in the face of death and shouted loudly. However, Chu Fengmian's state of mind did not change at all. Since he was going to destroy the law enforcement hall today, he would not let anyone off. Bam! 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 As the blade flashed across the sky, the 6 supreme elders of the law enforcement hall were all killed and turned into clouds of blood mist in the sky. Devour them all. At this point, Chu Fengmian no longer hid his strength. Today, he wanted to announce his strength to the entire Holy Dragon secret realm. Anyone who dared to go against the Holy Dragon sect and Chu Fengmian would have to pay the price. A large amount of blood essence was devoured by the sky-devouring secret skill and fused into the divine tree. The divine tree was cheering excitedly as it devoured the blood essence. The countless roots in Chu Fengmian's body were all growing. The law enforcement hall is finished. The hall master, deputy hall master, and all the supreme elders are going to die. I'm afraid today's matter won't end well. This is such a big matter. The higher-ups are going to be furious. Looking at the tragic state of the law enforcement hall, many experts in the Holy Dragon secret realm shook their heads. The hall master, deputy hall master, and supreme elders were almost all killed. More than half of the disciples were either dead or injured. From today onwards, the law enforcement hall would no longer exist in the Holy Dragon secret realm. However, the law enforcement hall only had themselves to blame. Since they dared to provoke Chu Fengmian, they had to bear Chu Fengmian's anger. After devouring the blood essence that filled the sky, Chu Fengmian looked at Aomo again. The moment Aomo saw Chu Fengmian's gaze, large droplets of sweat dripped from his face. Now, he no longer resembled Emperor Gu. He was simply an ant. An ant that was scared out of his wits. After seeing Chu Fengmian kill the law enforcement hall master and all the supreme elders with a single strike, he was completely scared out of his wits. He begged while trembling. Chu Fengmian, let me go. I know many secrets of the law enforcement hall. If you let me go, I'll tell you everything. Now, I'm the only one who knows the secrets of the law enforcement hall. If you kill me, you won't get any of the treasures of the law enforcement hall. The treasures of the law enforcement hall? When Chu Fengmian heard this, he sneered. Treasures? The treasures in Chu Fengmian's possession were enough to build several law enforcement halls. Why would Chu Fengmian care about the treasures of the law enforcement hall? You still want to threaten me? Chu Fengmian sneered. Chu Fengmian reached out his hand and grabbed Aomo. Aomo was held in Chu Fengmian's palm. I won't kill you today. Your life and death will be decided by my junior brother. Chu Fengmian circulated his spiritual energy. Immediately, countless restrictions were placed on Aomo's body. Aomo's strength was suppressed to the level of the divine power realm. Now, he was no different from an ant. Senior sister, I'll leave this old dog to you. Return to the Holy Dragon sect and hand him over to junior brother Luo Kang. With a wave of his hand, Chu Fengmian threw Aomo, who had been suppressed, towards Qing Meng. Qing Meng caught Aomo. Killing intent flashed in her eyes, but she did not kill him. The person who hated Aomo the most was Luo Kang. Chapter 1431. After handing Aomo over to Luo Kang, Chu Fengmian's gaze fell on the door of Dharma and logos that was suppressed in the Milky Way. At first glance, Chu Fengmian could tell that the door of Dharma and logos was a supreme treasure with an astonishing origin. Although it was the spiritual weapon of the law enforcement hall, Chu Fengmian had already destroyed the law enforcement hall today. Of course, Chu Fengmian would not let go of the door of Dharma and logos. Sky-devouring mystic technique. Sky-devouring. Chu Fengmian looked at the door of Dharma and logos that was still struggling in the Milky Way. With a thought, the power of the sky-devouring beast's heart in his body was instantly activated. Activating the sky-devouring mystic technique, it immediately devoured the door of Dharma and Logos. The power of the sky-devouring mystic technique continuously devoured the power of the door of Dharma and Logos. The ancient veins were constantly being devoured. Does this person intend to refine the door of Dharma and Logos? The door of Dharma and Logos has been in the law enforcement hall for tens of thousands of years and has been branded with an indelible mark. It can't be refined. No, look, the veins on the door of Dharma and Logos are being refined continuously. How is this possible? What kind of mystic technique is this? What a terrifying power. Sky-devouring? This is the legendary power of the sky-devouring beast. How can this person control the power of the sky-devouring beast? The scene before them caused an uproar. As the spiritual weapon of the law enforcement hall, the door of Dharma and Logos was famous in the entire Holy Dragon Mystery dimension. Many experts had once coveted the door of Dharma and Logos. However, the door of Dharma and Logos had been in the law enforcement hall for tens of thousands of years. The door of Dharma and Logos had been branded with an indelible mark of the law enforcement hall. Even a Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu or a half-step celestial being would find it difficult to erase it. Only the Hall Master of the Law Enforcement Hall and the Supreme Elders could activate the imprint on it and activate the door of Dharma and Logos. The door of Dharma and Logos, which was originally impossible to refine, was now being refined continuously in Chu Fengmian's hands. The imprint on it was slowly being erased. The eyes of many experts in the Holy Dragon Mystery Ground flickered with greed when they saw this scene. Everyone knew that the door of Dharma and Logos was a valuable treasure. Whoever could refine it would definitely be of great help. Little guy, hand over the gate of Dharma and Logos. This thing belongs to the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension. It's not something you can obtain. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared. At the same time, an incomparably dignified voice was transmitted. A strong power of heaven and earth followed. At this moment, a middle-aged man wearing an imperial robe appeared. Even the Hall Master of the Law Enforcement Hall did not have the guts to wear an imperial robe in the Holy Dragon's secret realm. However, the Supreme Elder Master, the Supreme Elder Supreme Elder Sect. Way. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that the Law Enforcement Hall did not dare to openly provoke the Holy Dragon Sect given their strength. Today, even if Chu Fengmian did not make a move, Qing Meng alone was enough to turn the Law Enforcement Hall upside down. There were definitely other experts hiding behind her. Seeing Great Elder He Chen's appearance, everyone understood what was hidden behind the Law Enforcement Hall. 6 Ultimate Sect. First Elder Black Dust was precisely one of the 6 first elders of the 6 Ultimate Sect. Great Elder. Although this title did not sound as good as Supreme Elder, it represented a different status within the Sacred Dragon's secret realm. They were the elders of the 4 sections. Only the elders of the 4 sects were qualified to be called the Grand Elder. Judging from his aura alone, Great Elder He Chen was not much stronger than the Hall Master of the Law Enforcement Hall. The head of the Law Enforcement Hall was only at the level of Emperor Gu and Shui Xin. Great Elder He Chen was at least at the level of the Blood God Emperor Gu. He was at the peak of the 8 calamities Emperor Gu. He was even stronger than the Blood God Emperor Gu. Is the main character here? Chu Fengmian was not surprised to see Great Elder He Chen appear. The Law Enforcement Hall was just a dog that bit people. Of course, the Law Enforcement Hall was not the only one that wanted to deal with the Holy Dragon Sect. 6 Ultimate Sect. 6 Ultimate Sect, one of the 4 sects, was the real enemy of the Holy Dragon Sect. 6 Ultimate Sect could tolerate Chu Fengmian destroying the Law Enforcement Hall, but they could not tolerate the door of jurisprudence falling into Chu Fengmian's hands. Especially since Great Elder He Chen had witnessed the battle. He was aware of Chu Fengmian's strength. Now that the door of jurisprudence had fallen into Chu Fengmian's hands, Chu Fengmian's strength would become even more powerful in the future. It was definitely not something he wanted to see. Chu Fengmian, do you know that you can't even save yourself today? Destroying the law enforcement hall might seem impressive, but what you've provoked is the rule of the entire Holy Dragon's secret territory. The dignity of the Holy Dragon's secret territory is not allowed to be blasphemed. Great Elder Heichen looked at Chu Fengmian and sneered. The upper echelons of the academy should be coming out of seclusion now. When the time comes, the first one to die will be you. Anyway, you're already a dead man. Why don't you obediently hand over the door of jurisprudence and hand over all the fortuitous encounters you have? I can consider it. When the time comes, I'll only kill you and spare the Holy Dragon sect. That's right, Chu Fengmian. If you're obedient today, you might still be able to keep your life. If you continue to resist, you'll definitely die. Another voice sounded. A figure flew out and stood beside Great Elder Heichen. The aura on this person's body was not as strong as Great Elder Heichen's, but it was on par with the Law Enforcement Hall's Hall Master. He was also an 8 Tribulation Emperor Gu, the Sword Comprehension Hall's Hall Master. Seeing the identity of this person, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, incomparably shocked. It was another 8 Hall Master. One of the 8 halls, the Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall. The 8 Hall Masters were important figures who rarely appeared in the Holy Dragon's secret territory. This time, it was not only the Law Enforcement Hall Master who appeared. Even the Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall had appeared. Great Elder Heichen was also present. The 2 8 Tribulation Emperor Gu stood in front of Chu Fengmian. Just the aura on their bodies alone was enough to bring about immense pressure. I don't want the door of jurisprudence. Little guy, hand over your supreme sword Qi and I can spare the Holy Dragon sect and spare the others. The Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall looked at Chu Fengmian with a greedy gaze. He then spoke to Qing Meng. Chapter 1432. Taking the opportunity to rob. Although the Sword Comprehension Hall Master's words were sanctimonious, they were only 4 words after all. Taking the opportunity to rob. He had witnessed the destruction of the Law Enforcement Hall but did not take action. He had been waiting for Chu Fengmian to destroy the Law Enforcement Hall. To him, Chu Fengmian had no way out after destroying the Law Enforcement Hall. He was dead for sure. The upper echelons of the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension would never allow Chu Fengmian to live. Now, they had come to take advantage of the situation. As the Sword Comprehension Hall Master, he was a profound sword cultivator. He naturally understood the preciousness of the Supreme Sword Qi. The Supreme Sword Qi recorded the world's sword techniques. It was worthy of being called a Supreme Sword Treasure. It was even rumored that there was an even greater secret hidden in the Supreme Sword Qi. Only by obtaining all 3,000 strands of Supreme Sword Qi would one be able to crack the secret. Of course, no one knew if this rumor was true or false. However, even without this rumor, no one could ignore the value of Ultimate Sword Qi as a supreme treasure of the Way of the Sword. It was definitely something that thousands of sword cultivators yearned for even in their dreams. The Holy Dragon sect will never be threatened. Qing Meng said coldly when she heard the Sword Comprehension Hall Master's words. Sword Comprehension Hall, are you planning to intervene? Be careful that you don't get any benefits. You will be destroyed. Qing Meng, you don't have to be stubborn. Anyone with eyes can see today's outcome. Don't waste your breath. Let this kid be obedient and your Holy Dragon sect may still have a chance to survive. Otherwise, the Holy Dragon sect can only be buried with this kid today. The Sword Comprehension Hall Master smiled when he heard the killing intent in Qing Meng's words. The Holy Dragon sect is unyielding. I don't know if you can still be so unyielding when the Holy Dragon sect is about to be destroyed. The Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall turned her head and looked at Great Elder Heichen. Great Elder Heichen, there's no need to wait for the others. Let's join forces and capture this kid. I only want his Supreme Sword Qi and the 2 spiritual swords. The rest will belong to the 6 Ultimate Sect. How about it? Sure. Great Elder Heichen nodded when he heard this. Although the Supreme Sword Qi and the spiritual sword were precious treasures, he didn't practice swordsmanship, so they wouldn't be of much use to him. What he was interested in was Chu Fengmian's opportunities and the gate of Dharma and Logos. In the blink of an eye, both Grand Elder Heichen and the Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall unleashed their auras. Their murderous intent was not concealed at all as they glared at each other. Under their gazes, the two of them were accumulating spirit force and could attack at any moment. "Is everyone here?" Chu Fengmian's expression didn't change at all in the face of the killing intent of the two Emperor Gu. Since Chu Fengmian planned to make a big scene today, he didn't only want to deal with the small fries of the law enforcement hall. Among the experts present in the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm, there were many who wanted to deal with Chu Fengmian. However, only two of them came out. Chu Fengmian was surprised. Just as Chu Fengmian finished speaking, another figure flew out from the crowd. "The two of you, how can you not let this old man take part in such a good thing?" It was the figure of an old man. The moment he appeared, a dragon's roar resounded in the surroundings. The dragons roared and the dragon's aura lowered. Emperor Jianwang, the Hall Master of the Thousand Dragon Hall. Seeing the arrival of the old man, many people were shocked. There were too many experts here this time. Now, not only the Sword Comprehension Hall wanted to intervene, but even the Thousand Dragon Hall couldn't wait any longer. "Emperor Jianwang, why are you here?" Grand Elder Heichen looked at Emperor Jianwang and asked calmly. "Of course, I'm also here for the opportunity on this person. This old man also wants to take part in such a great opportunity. His bloodline contains the bloodline of ancestor Jianwang. I want his bloodline." Emperor Jianwang stared at Chu Fengmian and said with greed in his eyes. Emperor Jianwang was a member of the Dragon Clan. He was Tianwang who had obtained a great opportunity. However, due to the limitations of his bloodline, his strength could only reach the pinnacle of the Eight Tribulation Emperor Gu. It was almost impossible for him to advance further. Chu Fengmian's body contained the bloodline of ancestor Tianwang. Obtaining Chu Fengmian's bloodline was enough to elevate Emperor Jianwang's bloodline to a higher level. "Brat, you're already at death's door today. There's no point in continuing to struggle. Obediently surrender." Emperor Jianwang stared at Chu Fengmian and sneered. "Hand over your fortuitous encounter obediently. You're going to die today, but if you're obedient, we can consider not going against the Holy Dragon sect." Sword Comprehension Hall's Hall Master sneered and said, "You're going to die for offending your superiors and killing your fellow sect members. It's useless for anyone to plead for you. Be obedient and don't waste your energy. This is the Holy Dragon adversity. No matter how many tricks you have, you won't be able to escape." Great Elder Heichen stared at Chu Fengmian and said with a cold smile, "You're just a bunch of weaklings. Escape? Who said I'm going to escape?" Chu Fengmian burst into laughter when he heard their threats. "Just as well. Today, I plan to capture all the enemies of the Holy Dragon sect in one fell swoop. The three of you took the initiative to jump out and save me the trouble of searching for you one by one. The rules of the Holy Dragon Secret Realm? I don't care about the rules. Anyone who dares to go against me and the Holy Dragon sect will die today. So will the three of you." Chu Fengmian's gaze swept across the three of them. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Great Elder Heichen and the other two panicked when they saw Chu Fengmian's gaze. It was as if they were being stared at by an incomparably ferocious beast. They couldn't help but feel nervous. "Kill! Don't talk nonsense with this brat. Don't suppress him. Just kill him to prevent future trouble." Great Elder Heichen roared and attacked first. Black dust filled the sky and turned into a tornado. The black dust was sharper than a blade in the tornado. Everything in its path was destroyed. The Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall followed closely behind. A pitch-black spiritual sword appeared in his hand. Although the spiritual sword wasn't as good as the two spiritual swords in Chu Fengmian's hands, it also contained an ancient aura. It was also an extremely ancient heaven-grade spiritual weapon. The sword flashed and a sword light slashed at Chu Fengmian. The Hall Master of the Thousand Dragon Hall, Emperor Jianwang, also attacked. he used the Dragon Clan's martial technique and turned it into a dragon claw that attacked Chu Fengmian. The 3/8 Tribulation Emperor Gu attacked Chu Fengmian together. This scene was simply incomparably shocking. Chapter 1433. The 3/8 Tribulation Emperor Gu joined forces and attacked Chu Fengmian at the same time. Violet power filled the entire sky, shattering the space around Chu Fengmian. The 3/8 Tribulation Emperor Gu used their respective killer moves. They were vicious and contained great murderous intent. They wanted to kill Chu Fengmian on the spot today. "Junior brother, let me help you." Qing Meng saw the 3 Emperor Gu attacking from the side. A ray of green light condensed in the palm of her hand. She took a step forward and rushed in. "No need, senior sister. Go to the Sword Comprehension Hall and the Thousand Dragon Hall and destroy them completely. Since they dare to go against our holy dragon sect today, there's no need for these 2 halls to exist," Chu Fengmian suddenly said to Qing Meng. As he spoke, he took a step forward. Facing the 3 killer moves, Chu Fengmian had no intention of retreating. Instead, he took a step forward and faced them head-on. Just the 3 of them. "I alone am enough." Ancient Dragon Emperor Body. Power of the Tree of God. Flesh and Blood Crystal. Condense. Rumble. Waves of power burst out from Chu Fengmian's body and shrouded him. 129,600 flesh and blood crystals flew out at the same time, supporting the power of the Tree of God and the power of the ancient Dragon Emperor Body. It turned into a flawless barrier, forcibly blocking the power of the 3 killer moves. The 3 killer moves bombarded Chu Fengmian's body and set off continuous tremors. The power was extremely terrifying. However, no matter how powerful the attacks were, they were all neutralized when they hit Chu Fengmian's body. The 129,600 blood and flesh crystals formed a single entity, which was enough to withstand any kind of power. What kind of body is this? How is it possible to resist the attacks of 3/8 Tribulation Emperor Gu with just his body? Impossible. Even a body cultivator who painstakingly cultivates the Tao of body refinement can't do this. What kind of body is this? Look, this person's body isn't made of flesh and blood. It's made of crystals. What kind of body refinement technique is this? This is simply unheard of, unprecedented. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw Chu Fengmian's escaped body after withstanding countless bombardments. It took a long time for them to recover from their shock. The joint attack of the 3 Emperor Gu was an absolute killer move. Even an 8 Tribulation Emperor Gu would find it hard to resist. What's more, using his physical body to block it. Even the legendary Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations, or even a half-step celestial being, would not be able to do this. "Senior sister, I alone am enough. Go and destroy the Sword Comprehension Hall and the 10,000 Dragon Hall. Let them know the consequences of opposing our holy dragon sect." Chu Fengmian used his undying true body to dissolve all the attacks and shouted at Qing Meng. Hearing those words, the crowd burst into an uproar. Today, Chu Fengmian had already trampled on the Law Enforcement Hall, one of the 8 halls. Yet he was still not satisfied and wanted to continue. The Sword Comprehension Hall and the 10,000 Dragon Hall were ranked higher than the Law Enforcement Hall in the Secret Realm. The destruction of the Law Enforcement Hall was the biggest event since the establishment of the Holy Dragon Secret Realm several 100,000 years ago. The destruction of a hall was unprecedented. Today, Chu Fengmian had done the same and thought that he would stop after destroying the Law Enforcement Hall. Who would have thought that Chu Fengmian would go even further and destroy the Sword Comprehension Hall and the 10,000 Dragon Hall as well? Crazy, this brat must be crazy. Too scary. Does he want to break through the heavens today? This was the first time such a huge commotion had occurred in the Secret Realm since its establishment. All of this was because of a mere disciple. "You dare, evil creature!" The myriad dragons king and the Law Enforcement Hall master were aghast as they shouted in unison. They didn't care about Chu Fengmian's previous words. They only thought that he was boasting. A quasi-emperor against 3/8 Tribulation true emperors? This was simply like a fantasy story. However, after seeing Chu Fengmian's physical body, their thoughts changed. Chu Fengmian alone was enough to stall them. Why wouldn't I dare? Do you think destroying the law enforcement hall is my limit? I'll destroy anyone who dares to oppose me today. Myriad Dragon Hall, Sword Comprehension Hall, just wait to be buried with you. Chu Fengmian's arrogant words came out of his mouth. One of the 8 halls was destroyed just like that. This was simply the words of a madman. However, no one dared to doubt Chu Fengmian this time. The last hall that doubted Chu Fengmian's words was destroyed by him. They didn't doubt that Qing Meng would dare to destroy these 2 halls. Everything that Chu Fengmian did, Qing Meng did not stop him. This already proved Qing Meng's character. Very well. Qing Meng didn't hesitate after hearing Chu Fengmian. She turned into a ray and flew towards the Sword Comprehension Hall. Among the 8 halls, only the Hall Lords were 8 Tribulation True Emperors. The rest were all 7 Tribulation True Emperors. Even 7 Tribulation True Emperors wouldn't be a match for a peak 8 Tribulation True Emperor like Qing Meng. Now that Sword Comprehension Hall's Hall Master and Emperor of 10,000 Dragons were fighting with Chu Fengmian, no one could stop her from destroying these 2 halls. Qing Meng, stop. The Hall Master was aghast after seeing Qing Meng's departure. He had thought that they would be able to defeat Chu Fengmian in an instant with the combined strength of the 3 8 Tribulation Ancient Emperors. He didn't expect Chu Fengmian to be hiding something. His physical body alone was extremely difficult to deal with. Given Qing Meng's speed, it wouldn't take long for the hall to turn into ruins like the Law Enforcement Hall. Sword Patrol. Whoosh! The Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall slashed out with her sword, which turned into a beam of sword light. She slashed towards Qing Meng in an attempt to stop her. However, as his sword light approached Chu Fengmian, a battle dragon claw descended from the sky and shattered the sword light. Didn't the 3 of you plan to kill me? Today, I want to see if you can kill me faster, or if you can destroy these 2 great halls faster. Chu Fengmian blocked the sword light and sneered as he looked at the Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall. Brat, are you crazy today? If you do this, there's no turning back. Not only you, but the entire Holy Dragon sect has no way out. Chapter 1434. Retreat? I have no intention of retreating today. Chu Fengmian looked at the 3/8 Tribulation Emperor Gu as if he was looking at dead men. Today, you will die too. You are doomed to die the moment you dared to make an enemy of the Holy Dragon sect. Kill! Kill this brat and all our troubles will be solved. He looked at the embarrassed Emperor Jianwang and the Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall. Great Elder Heichen shouted loudly. This brat's power is still suppressed by the Gate of Dharma and Logos. It's just that his body is strong. Take advantage of this opportunity to kill him. The more Great Elder Heichen witnessed Chu Fengmian's strength, the more he wanted to kill him. Suddenly, countless black dust condensed in his palm and turned into a stone tablet. He threw it directly at Chu Fengmian. This stone tablet was the main body of the black dust. The moment it condensed, its power suddenly increased countless times. Clearly, Great Elder Heichen was not holding back any of his strength. The stone tablet fell from Great Elder Heichen's palm. The power it generated was no less than the power of a falling star. An enormous pressure shrouded Chu Fengmian. Kill! Emperor Jianwang and the Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall had a look of determination in their eyes. The strength that Chu Fengmian had displayed today was so terrifying that they had already made up their minds. They would kill Chu Fengmian even if they had to enter the 1,000 Dragon Hall and risk the destruction of the Sword Comprehension Hall. Countless ferocious swordsmanship of the Dragon Clan suddenly shrouded Chu Fengmian's body. Together with the power of a stone tablet, they bombarded Chu Fengmian's body. Do you think I am suppressed by the Gate of Dharma and Logos? In fact, I am just luring you out. Faced with the bombardment of countless martial techniques, Chu Fengmian's eyes suddenly revealed a cold smile. While the Gate of Dharma and Logos was being refined by the sky-devouring secret technique, the imprint left on it suddenly shattered. A sword shadow was inserted into the gate of Dharma and Logos and was immediately refined by Chu Fengmian. The gate of Dharma and Logos. Suppress everything. Whoosh. The gate of Dharma and Logos was refined by Chu Fengmian. It immediately fell into Chu Fengmian's palm. Then, Chu Fengmian injected spiritual power into it, and it suddenly became incomparably huge. It was at least 10,000 feet in size. This was the true form of the gate of Dharma and Logos. The people of the law enforcement hall were not qualified to activate the true form of the gate of Dharma and Logos. In this state, the gate of Dharma and Logos consumed a large amount of spiritual energy at every moment. Even the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu could not bear it. However, Chu Fengmian had the divine pulse, so he was not worried at all. He activated the gate of Dharma and Logos without any scruples, unleashing the maximum power of the gate of Dharma and Logos. Rumble! The gate of Dharma and Logos descended. Under this power, all killing moves, sword techniques, and Dragon Clan martial arts were immediately shattered. Even the steel was knocked flying by the impact. Today, the 3 of you will die here. The ancient bronze door. Come out. Boom! Another ray of light flashed from Chu Fengmian's body, and another ancient bronze gate slowly appeared. The power of this ancient bronze door was in no way inferior to that of the door of Dharma and Logos. Bless me! Whoosh! The 2 ancient gates flew to Chu Fengmian's back at the same time, providing him with a steady stream of power. Right now, Chu Fengmian's body was protected by these 2 ancient gates. No attack could break through Chu Fengmian's invincible defense. At the same time, the swords in Chu Fengmian's hands moved. The 2 swords came out together, forming a sword ray that was tens of thousands of feet long. The power of this sword slashed toward Great Elder Heichen and the other 2. The first to bear the brunt of this sword was Great Elder Heichen. Great Elder Heichen's face was no longer as confident and arrogant as before. He had originally calculated that Chu Fengmian would have to divide part of his power to suppress the gate of Dharma and Logos while refining it. With the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu joining forces, Chu Fengmian would undoubtedly die today, no matter how strong he was. However, when he saw Chu Fengmian refining the gate of Dharma and Logos, he understood that this was a trap. A trap to lure them out. Now that the 3 of them had appeared, it was time for Chu Fengmian to draw on the net. Kill! So what if he has refined the gate of Dharma and Logos? He doesn't have the power to continue activating it. Don't be afraid. Let's see how long his spiritual power can last. Great Elder Heichen roared. Now, it was impossible for them to retreat even if they wanted to. They might as well continue fighting. Although he had never come into contact with the gate of Dharma and Logos, it was rumored that a large amount of spiritual power was required to activate the gate of Dharma and Logos. For example, in the Law Enforcement Hall, countless Law Enforcement Hall disciples and several Supreme Elders were not enough to activate the gate of Dharma and Logos continuously. Now that Chu Fengmian was activating it alone, he certainly could not maintain it for long. When he thought of this, a pitch-black figure appeared behind Great Elder Heichen. This pitch-black figure was very similar to Great Elder Heichen's power, but it was much more ancient. It seemed to be a powerhouse from his clan. As soon as the pitch-black figure appeared, Great Elder Heichen used the stone steel to smash at the sword light. You're just a puny quasi-emperor. I don't believe that you can be so powerful. Great Elder Heichen roared loudly. His tone was incomparably crazy and unreconciled. He was the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu, the Great Elder of 6 Ultimate Sect. It should be easy for him to deal with a puny quasi-emperor, but now his attacks were being neutralized by Chu Fengmian again and again. He was at a disadvantage in the battle with Chu Fengmian, which made him go crazy. A mayfly trying to shake a tree. You're too weak. Chu Fengmian sneered. The sword ray suddenly slashed toward Great Elder Heichen's body. The stone tablet in his palm was shattered under the collision of the 2 forces, turning into black dust. Then, Chu Fengmian waved his hand and all the black dust was forcibly plundered into his palm. Back in the 9 Mystic Celestial Venerates cave, Chu Fengmian had gone through many life and death battles with the Eight Tribulations Emperor Gu. In addition, Chu Fengmian had killed countless experts of the law enforcement hall and devoured their blood essence, which was refined by the divine tree. Now, Chu Fengmian's power was even stronger than when he was in the Nine Mystic Celestial Venerates cave. At that time, Chu Fengmian was strong enough to kill Emperor Gu. Now, with the support of the Gate of Dharma and Logos, killing the Eight Tribulations Emperor Gu would be a piece of cake for Chu Fengmian. Great Elder Heichen turned pale with fright when the stone tablet in his hand was snatched away. He hurriedly condensed his spiritual energy to resist the power of the sword ray. Chapter 1435. Door of Dharma and Logos. Archaic bronze door. Crush them together. Chu Fengmian let out a long roar, and the two ancient doors behind him erupted with power at the same time. They turned into two beams of divine light and bombarded Great Elder Heichen. The spiritual power condensed in front of Great Elder Heichen was smashed by the two beams of divine light. At the same time, tens of thousands of sword rays followed. Boom! Great Elder Heichen's body was torn to pieces by the power of the tens of thousands of sword rays. His blood stained the sky and turned into a bloody mist. Countless disciples of the sacred dragon mystery dimension stared blankly at the unbelievable scene in the sky. An Eight Tribulation ancient emperor. This was Great Elder Heichen, an elder of the Six Ultimate Sect. How could he be defeated by Chu Fengmian with a single strike? This scene was even more shocking than the scene of Chu Fengmian killing the law enforcement hall master. Great Elder Heichen was defeated in the blink of an eye. How could an Eight Tribulations Emperor Gu be so weak in the hands of Chu Fengmian? Was Great Elder Heichen not strong enough? As an elder of the four sects, he was much stronger than the eight hall masters, but he still could not escape the fate of being defeated by Chu Fengmian. Evil creature, you can't kill me. I'm immortal. No one can kill me. Great Elder Heichen's angry voice was heard in the bloody mist. The bloody mist immediately condensed in the air and turned into the figure of Great Elder Heichen. As a peak figure of the Eight Tribulations Emperor Gu, Great Elder Heichen's vitality was unbelievably strong. In particular, Emperor Gu, who was at the peak of the Eight Tribulations, had his flesh and blood upgraded to a new level. As long as he was not killed by a single blow, he could reconstruct his body. Is that so? Immortal? There's no one in the world that I, Chu Fengmian, can't kill. Chu Fengmian looked at Great Elder Heichen and smiled indifferently. Devouring heaven. Boom! The sky-devouring mystic technique suddenly appeared behind Great Elder Black Dust. Before Great Elder Black Dust could react, his body was pulled into the sky-devouring mystic technique. When is this? Great Elder Heichen didn't even notice the appearance of the sky-devouring secret technique. By the time he reacted, his body had already completely fallen into the sky-devouring secret technique. In this incomparably dark vortex, his body was firmly pulled in, and he could no longer break free. Die! Chu Fengmian pointed the tip of his sword and a stream of sword qi entered the sky-devouring secret technique. Great Elder Heichen's body shattered and turned into a bloody mist. However, this time around, before the crimson mist could condense, it was mercilessly devoured by the heaven-devouring secret technique. All of his essence and blood fell into Chu Fengmian's body and became nourishment for the divine tree. Great! Great Elder Heichen's essence blood is even stronger than that of the blood god Emperor Gu. Chu Fengmian could sense that the divine tree had become extremely excited after devouring Great Elder Black Dust's essence blood. It was thirsting for more essence blood. And the two of you, die. Chu Fengmian looked at Emperor 10,000 Dragons and the Hall Master of Sword Comprehension Hall. The moment they saw his gaze, their bodies trembled. Let's go! The two of them looked at each other and turned to flee without hesitation. When they saw Great Elder Heichen die at Chu Fengmian's hands, the two of them no longer had the courage to continue fighting Chu Fengmian. You want to escape? Suppress. Suppress them all. Chu Fengmian sneered. The two ancient portals behind him flew out at the same time, one for each of them, and immediately suppressed them. The Hall Master of Sword Comprehension Hall and Emperor 10,000 Dragons didn't have time to activate their escape lights and were suppressed in place. In the face of these two ancient portals, it was difficult to activate even their spiritual power. Chu Fengmian, you've already killed many people today. Let us go. Let us go and we can plead with the higher-ups on your behalf. We can resolve today's matter. The Hall Master of Sword Comprehension Hall, who was suppressed by the door of jurisprudence, suddenly changed her attitude and hurriedly said to Chu Fengmian, "You won't gain anything by killing us. Today's matter was instigated by Great Elder Heichen and led us astray. After today, we will no longer be enemies with you and the Holy Dragon Sect." That's right, Chu Fengmian. Both of us are 8 Hall Masters and have some status in the Holy Dragon Secret Realm. We can speak on your behalf and resolve today's matter. Emperor 10,000 Dragons, who was suppressed by the archaic bronze door, hurriedly responded when he heard the Hall Master of Sword Comprehension Hall. Today, you've already caused a great disaster. We can plead on your behalf. As the two of them conversed, their eyes flashed with ferocity. Today, begging for mercy in front of so many people was an unbearable humiliation for them as 8 Tribulation Emperor Gu. However, Chu Fengmian was too powerful today and they could only retreat. As long as they could survive today, they must teach Chu Fengmian a lesson. Plead? I, Chu Fengmian, don't need you two good-for-nothings to plead for me. I'd like to see who dares to judge me. Chu Fengmian laughed. Chu Fengmian could see through the two of them at a glance. They still wanted to come back and seek revenge from Chu Fengmian? Today, Chu Fengmian would kill both of them. Die. Chu Fengmian pointed his 2 spiritual swords at one of them. Sword chi filled the air above the swords. Chu Fengmian, do you really dare to kill us? I'm the 8 Hall Master. The Hall Master of Sword Comprehension Hall roared when he heard that Chu Fengmian was unmoved. Noisy! Chu Fengmian shouted coldly. 8 Hall Masters, I've already killed one. I don't mind killing 2 more. Both of you shall die. In an instant, 2 rays of sword chi slashed out and slashed towards the 2 of them. Stop! Junior, I see that you're out of control. You even dare to kill the 8 Hall Masters? Today, even if you're a disciple of the Holy Dragon Sect, you don't have the right to do so. Stop it right now. How dare you? How dare you? You have to be severely punished. Suddenly, a dignified voice descended from the sky. At the same time, 2 incomparably huge arms descended from the sky and grabbed at the Hall Master of Sword Comprehension Hall and Emperor of Dragons. Chu Fengmian couldn't help but frown when he heard the voice. This person's aura was much stronger than that of Great Elder Heichen and Emperor Gu of the Blood God. This kind of power was no longer that of the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. It could only be that of the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. Legend had it that only the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu, who was close to the half-step celestial being realm, possessed this kind of power. The real big shot of the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension had made his move. A big shot like the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu usually cultivated in seclusion and didn't care about worldly affairs. Today, Chu Fengmian had caused such a big scene that even such a big shot was awakened. Chapter 1436. They are not friendly. Chu Fengmian frowned. Even the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu was alarmed by Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian could disregard the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. However, the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu was at least 10 times more powerful than the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. Even the weakest 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu could easily kill someone like Emperor Jianwang. This was Chu Fengmian's first time facing the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. This is the previous Hall Master of our 1,000 Dragons Hall, Emperor Jianwang. When Emperor Myriad Dragons heard this voice, his face lit up with joy, and he shouted in joy. Emperor Jianwang. Hearing the Myriad Dragons Emperor shout out this name, the spectators finally understood who this person was. The previous Hall Master of the 1,000 Dragons Hall became the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu and was promoted to the upper echelons of the Sacred Dragon Secret Dimension. His legend had been passed down from thousands of years ago. He had a high status and was even more prominent than the 8 Hall Masters and the great elders of the 4 sections. Lord 10,000 Dragon Emperor, please take action and suppress this brat. This brat is already lawless. Not only did he destroy the Law Enforcement Hall, he even killed the Law Enforcement Hall's Hall Master and Great Elder He Chen. He is already a devil. This brat must not be allowed to live. The Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall looked into the sky and shouted. What? Emperor Jianwang's eyes turned cold when he heard this. He only rushed over because he felt that Emperor Jianwang and the Hall Master of the Sword Comprehension Hall were under threat. Upon hearing these words, his cold gaze swept over and coincidentally saw that the Law Enforcement Hall had already turned into a pile of rubble. The Law Enforcement Hall was now in ruins. Countless palaces had collapsed and the 9 spiritual springs had been uprooted by Chu Fengmian. It was impossible to rebuild it. Vile spawn. Emperor Jianwang looked at Chu Fengmian with murderous intent and cursed. Emperor Jianwang, Qing Meng of the Holy Dragon Sect is attacking our 1,000 Dragons Hall. The Myriad Dragons Emperor suddenly thought of something and shouted loudly. What? He dares to attack the 1,000 Dragons Hall? Emperor Jianwang was furious when he heard this. He was the previous Hall Master of the 1,000 Dragons Hall. It could be said that he had cultivated the 1,000 Dragons Hall. Suddenly, the eyes of the Emperor of 10,000 Dragons spun as an image appeared in his golden pupils. The 1,000 Dragons Hall was filled with blood and the corpses of the 1,000 Dragons Hall disciples were everywhere. At the same time, a figure holding green light was chasing after the 1,000 Dragons Hall's disciples. The current state of the 10,000 Dragon Hall was no better than that of the Law Enforcement Hall. The Sword Comprehension Hall was also in ruins. It was in ruins in the Sword Comprehension Hall. Seeing this scene, the Emperor of 10,000 Dragons was infuriated. He was so angry that he wanted to kill himself. Vile spawn. All vile spawn. Each 1,000 is. I've long said that the Holy Dragon Sect doesn't deserve to exist in the Holy Dragon Secret Plane. Emperor Gu is. He. You must pay the price for provoking the Holy Dragon Sect. Arrogant. He was too arrogant. Vile spawn, kneel down. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Emperor of 10,000 Dragons could no longer hold back his anger. He roared and slammed a dragon claw at Chu Fengmian. When this dragon claw was activated, it was already extremely similar to the primordial heavenly dragon's dragon claw. At the very least, it already possessed 80% of its power. The dragon claw came crashing down on Chu Fengmian from all directions. The Emperor Jianwang's attack was 10 times stronger than the Emperor Jianwang's. Although there was only a difference of 1 realm, the difference in power was like heaven and earth. Around the dragon claw, the dragons roared and gathered all their power into the dragon claw. The power of the dragon claw was extremely sharp. Power of the door, strengthen my body. Chu Fengmian roared. The door of Dharma and Logos flew back to Chu Fengmian from the Sword Comprehension Hall Master and Emperor Jianwang's body. Facing Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations, Chu Fengmian did not dare to use any of his power. He had to fight with his full strength. Chu Fengmian's ancient battle dragon bloodline power was activated to the extreme. At the same time, he activated Tianlong's bloodline power and gathered it in his palm. Go! Rumble! Chu Fengmian attacked with his palm. It turned into a dragon claw in the air and clashed with the Emperor Jianwang's dragon claw. Primogenitor's first form. Boom! The power of the 2 dragon claws collided in the air. Even the Emperor Jianwang, Sword Comprehension Hall Master, and Emperor Gu of the 8 Tribulations retreated hastily for fear of being caught in the crossfire. The Law Enforcement Hall's mountain was right under these 2 forces. Under these 2 forces, it instantly collapsed. The entire mountain instantly crumbled. Bam! A figure retreated from the center of the force. It was Chu Fengmian. What a terrifying force! Is this Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations? The strength of the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons was stronger than any of the experts Chu Fengmian had fought before. With just one move, Chu Fengmian was actually at a disadvantage. Chu Fengmian's body was supported by the power of two ancient portals. His strength was still far from the Emperor Wanlong's. Fortunately, the Emperor Wanlong used the Dragon Clan martial technique. Chu Fengmian's attainment in the Dragon Clan martial technique was superior to the Emperor Wanlong's. After all, Chu Fengmian was someone who had comprehended the 9 forms of progenitor. In this aspect, Chu Fengmian held a slight advantage. Otherwise, he would have been gravely injured even if he didn't die. My strength is far from being able to compete with Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations. Chu Fengmian instantly understood his strength. Even if Chu Fengmian had the ability to kill Emperor Gu of the 8 tribulations, he was still far from the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations. Moreover, Chu Fengmian could see that the Emperor Wanlong was only average among the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. He was far from reaching the half-step celestial realm. It seemed that unless Chu Fengmian stepped into the Emperor realm, it would be difficult for him to compete with the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. While Chu Fengmian was thinking, the Emperor Wanlong was also replaying the scene of the battle in his mind. In an instant, he had replayed it dozens of times in his mind. The 9 moves of primogenitor. This is definitely the 9 moves of primogenitor. During the battle, the Emperor Wanlong also noticed that the Dragon Clan martial technique that Chu Fengmian used was more profound than his own. The Emperor Wanlong was someone who could be called the Dragon Emperor. His strength was unbelievably strong. In terms of the comprehension of the Dragon Clan martial technique, he was close to the peak. Chapter 1437. Little brat, hand over the secret of the 9 moves of the ancestor and I'll let you die a quick death. The Emperor of 1,000 Dragons stared at Chu Fengmian and said. The 9 moves of the ancestor had always been the dream of countless experts from the Dragon tribe. Many experts from the Dragon tribe who possessed the bloodline of the ancestor Jianwang might not be able to comprehend the 9 moves of the ancestor. In order to comprehend the 9 moves of the ancestor, the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons had even obtained the blood essence of the ancestor Jianwang and possessed the bloodline of the ancestor Jianwang. However, he had been studying in front of the ancestor statue for dozens of years and could only give up in the end. Now, Chu Fengmian was just a little brat in the Boundary Emperor realm and he had actually executed the 9 moves of the ancestor. This made the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons both shocked and angry. His heart was filled with jealousy and anger. What 9 moves of the ancestor? Chu Fengmian heard the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons' words and said disapprovingly. If you want to kill me, just do it. There's no need to find so many excuses. While speaking, Chu Fengmian was also observing his surroundings. If he continued to fight with the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons today, he would definitely lose. Qingmeng had already destroyed the 1,000 Dragons Hall and Sword Comprehension Hall and returned to the Holy Dragon Sect. Now, as long as Chu Fengmian escaped and returned to the Holy Dragon Sect, the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons would not dare to attack the Holy Dragon Sect. With the Holy Dragon Sect's restrictions, there would be no danger for the time being. However, how could he escape and return to the Holy Dragon Sect today? Little brat, you don't have to play dumb here. You must have used the 9 moves of the ancestor. The Emperor of 1,000 Dragons sneered when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. It doesn't matter whether you admit it or not. Once I kill you and refine your memories, everything will be clear. 1,000 Dragon Seal. Dragon Cage. Swoosh. Beside the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons, waves of spiritual energy burst out and turned into huge Tianlong dragons in the air. These Tianlong dragons surrounded Chu Fengmian and turned into a huge cage, trapping Chu Fengmian within. Damn it! Do I have to use the Emperor Jar? Chu Fengmian's expression changed. He seemed to be hesitating. The only way to break the seal of the Emperor of 10,000 Dragons in an instant was to use the Emperor's Jar. However, once the Emperor Jar was exposed, Chu Fengmian would be in even more trouble in the future. This was an extreme Dao moral weapon. Chu Fengmian had learned that even in the sacred dragon secret realm, there wasn't a single extreme Dao celestial weapon. In fact, in the entire Daluo star field, there wasn't a single force that possessed an extreme Dao celestial weapon. Even if the mortal Emperor Jar was only a damaged extreme-grade immoral artifact, it was still a priceless treasure to the Holy Dragon Mystic realm. Let's fight. As long as there's life, there's hope. At worst, I can just escape. With my current strength, there aren't many people in the Daluo star field that can deal with me. A ferocious glint flashed across Chu Fengmian's eyes. At most, he would just leave the Holy Dragon Mystery realm. With Chu Fengmian's strength, there might not be anyone who could catch him. Just as Chu Fengmian began to summon the Emperor Jar, all of a sudden, the jade talisman on Chu Fengmian's chest lit up. Within this jade talisman, a figure appeared. This figure waved his hand, and all the heavenly dragons in the sky were destroyed. This is... Chu Fengmian was shocked. When he saw the jade talisman, he suddenly understood what kind of power it was. This jade talisman was the one that Luo Kang had given to Chu Fengmian. It was personally refined by the eldest senior brother of the Holy Dragon sect and belonged to Yunzun's power. Eldest senior brother. Chu Fengmian reacted and slowly spoke. Little junior brother, well done. The Holy Dragon sect has never allowed anyone to provoke us. Yunzun's figure glanced at Chu Fengmian and praised him. How dare you provoke the Holy Dragon sect? Only destruction awaits you. Although it was a figure condensed by spiritual power, it was enough to let people hear the murderous intent in Yunzun's words. The Emperor of 1,000 Dragons' expression changed completely as a cold glint flashed across his eyes. Yunzun, what is the meaning of this? Don't you intend to give the higher-ups an explanation? This kid destroyed the law enforcement hall and killed countless people. How dare you praise such a demon? Although the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons' words were extremely fierce, his tone was much gentler and not as aggressive as before. When he faced Chu Fengmian, the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons acted like a high and mighty big shot. He had never taken Chu Fengmian seriously and could trample on him as he wished. However, he didn't dare do that in front of Yunzun. He could only address him as an equal. Chu Fengmian sighed when he saw this scene. Although eldest senior brother Yunzun had disappeared for a long time, his spiritual power still couldn't be underestimated. He only has himself to blame for destroying the law enforcement hall. Law enforcement hall? Humph. He almost killed the disciples of the Holy Dragon sect. I will remember this grudge. Even if Chu Fengmian didn't destroy the law enforcement hall, I will still destroy it when I return. Yunzun snorted coldly. His tone was extremely overbearing. However, no one dared to question Yunzun's words after hearing this. Given Yunzun's character, he didn't care about the 8 halls at all. He could even look down on the higher-ups of the Holy Dragon secret realm and ignore them. Yunzun, you've gone too far. Today, not only the Law Enforcement Hall, but even the Sword Comprehension Hall and the 1,000 Dragons Hall have suffered heavy losses. Shouldn't you give us an explanation? Whoosh! A figure suddenly descended from the sky. This figure was like a sword light. The moment it approached, a murderous aura shrouded Chu Fengmian. Obviously, he was extremely angry at Chu Fengmian. Emperor Gu, Luo Jian. The previous hall master of the Law Enforcement Hall. When they saw this person arrive, everyone could see why he was so angry. Today, not only the Law Enforcement Hall, but the 1,000 Dragons Hall and the Sword Comprehension Hall had also suffered heavy losses. Although they weren't completely destroyed like the Law Enforcement Hall, many disciples had been killed by Chu Fengmian. However, a large number of disciples had been killed by Qing Meng. Even a few Supreme Elders had died in Qing Meng's hands. Without a few thousand years, it would be difficult for them to recover from this. As the previous Hall Master of the Law Enforcement Hall, Emperor Gu was naturally infuriated by this outcome. Explanation? What explanation? Yunzun said coldly when he heard Emperor Gu's words. At the very least, we must make this brat hand over his fortuitous encounter as compensation. Emperor Gu stared at Chu Fengmian and said coldly. Make him hand over the Supreme Sword Qi and give it to the Sword Comprehension Hall as compensation. That's right. He must also hand over the 9 moves of the Ancestor. Take it as compensation to the 1,000 Dragons Hall. Emperor Gu took the opportunity to say coldly. Chapter 1438. Yunzun. The eldest senior brother of the Holy Dragon Sect. The number 1 disciple of the Holy Dragon Secret Dimension. The number 1 emperor of all times. The most dazzling genius of the Daluo star field. His legend had spread throughout the Daluo star field, and everyone knew about him. It was rumored that Yunzun's true strength was comparable to the celestial realm. But today, Yunzun was only a manifestation of the spiritual energy in this jade talisman. No matter how strong Yunzun was, this jade talisman was no match for 2 Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations. Emperor Gu of 10,000 Dragons and Emperor Gu of Luo Jian did not intend to completely fall out with the Holy Dragon Sect. But today, both the 10,000 Dragons Hall and the Law Enforcement Hall had suffered heavy losses. No matter what, they had to get some benefits. Yunzun, take a step back. If today's matter is not resolved properly, it will be difficult to explain when the higher-ups come out of seclusion in a few months. Emperor Gu of Luo Jian also looked at Yunzun and said, "So what? Although this is only a clone, I don't care about the 2 of you." Before Emperor Gu of Luo Jian could finish, Yunzun interrupted coldly. "Take a step back and let Chu Fengmian go. From now on, there will be peace." "Impossible." Emperor Gu of 10,000 Dragons and Emperor Gu of Luo Jian said in unison. "This kid must pay the price today." "Luo Jian, 10,000 Dragons, do the 2 of you really intend to continue bickering with a junior?" Boom! An old voice sounded from the sky. The moment this voice sounded, an enormous power of heaven and earth descended. The power of heaven and earth was not inferior to that of Emperor Gu of Luo Jian and Emperor Gu of 10,000 Dragons. It was even enough to suppress them. It's that powerhouse again. Everyone present was about to go crazy. Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations was a powerhouse of this level that would never appear normally. They were all legendary figures. Today, they all appeared one after another. The entire Holy Dragon Secret Dimension was about to be shaken. As the old voice sounded, 2 figures descended from the sky and came to Chu Fengmian's side. One of them was Qing Meng. Beside Qing Meng was an old man that Chu Fengmian was very familiar with. Chu Fengmian had seen this old man before. He was the old man who guarded the primogenitor's statue. "Long Qinjue, Long, didn't you left the Holy Dragon Sect? Why are you still meddling in the affairs of the Holy Dragon Sect today?" Ancient Emperor Luo Jian said with a frown when he saw the arrival of this old man. Long Qinjue. Hearing this name, Chu Fengmian immediately understood who this old man was. Brother of Luo Jian Luo sect. Luo Kang had told Chu Fengmian some things about the Holy Dragon Sect. Long Qinjue was originally the eldest senior brother of the Holy Dragon Sect and was also the oldest disciple. Later, Yunzun rose to prominence and fought with Long Qinjue to take over the position of the eldest senior brother. However, Long Qinjue and Yunzun had made a bet that the loser would leave the Holy Dragon Secret Dimension. In the end, Long Qinjue left the Holy Dragon Sect and never returned. However, Long Qinjue's name was not removed. Instead, his name remained in the Holy Dragon Sect until the day he returned. Chu Fengmian did not expect that the guardian of Tianlong's statue was the second senior brother of the Holy Dragon Sect, Long Qinjue. Seeing that Qing Meng had returned to the Holy Dragon Sect, she must have gone to look for Long Qinjue. Long Qinjue was someone who could fight with Yunzun. Even though he was defeated by Yunzun, his strength was still terrifying. Chu Fengmian could sense that Long Qinjue was stronger than the Emperor of 10,000 Dragons and Emperor Gu of Luo Jian. Long Qinjue, I advise you not to interfere in today's matter. If the higher-ups blame you for destroying the 8 halls, you won't be able to handle it. The Emperor of 10,000 Dragons was silent for a moment before he stared at Long Qinjue and said coldly. Didn't you leave the Holy Dragon sect? Why do you want to get involved in this mess? Eldest senior brother, leave this to me. Long Qingjue ignored the Emperor of 10,000 Dragons and turned to Yunzun. All right. Yunzun nodded and his voice relaxed. When I return to the Holy Dragon sect, I will fight with you again. Yunzun's figure slowly disappeared in front of Chu Fengmian. At the same time, the jade talisman on Chu Fengmian's chest shattered and lost its power. After Yunzun's figure disappeared, Long Qianjue's gaze turned to the Emperor of 10,000 Dragons and Emperor Gu of Luojian. I, Long Qianjue, am still a disciple of the Holy Dragon sect. Long Qianjue's old eyes glinted fiercely. As long as I am here today, I will not let the disciples of the Holy Dragon sect be bullied. If you want to fight, then let's fight. Both of you, come at me together. Long Qianjue's words were very casual. Even though he was facing two Emperor Gu of the Nine Tribulations, there was not the slightest hint of nervousness on his face. Long Qianjue's meaning was very clear. There was no room for negotiation today. There was only one outcome. Chu Fengmian would escape unscathed. Otherwise, he would have to defeat Long Qianjue. Although Long Qianjue had not appeared in the Holy Dragon secret realm for hundreds of years, that was before Yunzun's rise. The most dazzling disciple of the Holy Dragon secret realm had always been Long Qianjue. The Emperor of 10,000 Dragons and Emperor Gu of Luojian's eyes were filled with deep fear and hesitation. Even the two of them might not be a match for Long Qianjue in a 2-on-1 battle. What do you plan to do with the orders from the higher-ups? You should know that when Emperor Gu of the Jurisprudence comes out of his seclusion, we will have to give him an explanation for this matter. Emperor Gu of Luojian stared at Long Qianjue and said. Emperor Gu of the Jurisprudence. The founder of the Law Enforcement Hall, one of the most important people in the Holy Dragon secret realm. He was an extremely ancient Emperor Gu of the Nine Tribulations. In the Holy Dragon secret realm, Emperor Gu of the Jurisprudence was a living legend. No one knew how many legendary battles he had experienced. The legends of Emperor Gu of the Jurisprudence had been passed down in countless ancient books in the Daluo Star domain. Chu Fengmian had destroyed the Law Enforcement Hall today. Once Emperor Gu of the Jurisprudence learned of this news, he would not let Chu Fengmian off the hook. When the time comes, the Holy Dragon sect will have an explanation. You don't have to worry. Long Qianjue said coldly. The two of you just need to mind your own business. Very well. Let's see how you explain this to Emperor Gu of the Jurisprudence. The Emperor of 10,000 Dragons snorted coldly. Let's go. The two of them could not do anything to Long Qianjue even if they worked together today. There was no point in staying here. They turned into streaks of light and left. Before Emperor Gu of Luojian left, he glared at Chu Fengmian. The murderous intent in his eyes showed that he had no intention of letting Chu Fengmian off the hook. However, it was not a good time to make a move today. When the opportunity arose, Emperor Gu of Luojian would definitely make a move against Chu Fengmian. This grudge could not be resolved. Chapter 1439. Emperor Gu, Luojian and Emperor Gu left in anger. The spectating disciples of the Holy Dragon secret realm also knew that today's matter had been settled. Even the two Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu could not do anything to Chu Fengmian. From today onwards, Chu Fengmian's name would be known throughout the entire Holy Dragon secret realm. Not only was Chu Fengmian powerful, but he was also extremely crazy. In the Holy Dragon secret realm, there were many powerful people who had the ability to destroy the Law Enforcement Hall. However, Chu Fengmian was the only one who dared to do so. This kind of reckless craziness was what terrified countless disciples of the Holy Dragon secret realm. No one wanted to become the next Law Enforcement Hall. Looking at the ruins of the Law Enforcement Hall below, countless people lamented. No one would have thought that the Law Enforcement Hall would end up in such a state. Although the 10,000 Dragon Hall and Sword Comprehension Hall were slightly better than the Law Enforcement Hall, they had also suffered heavy losses in this incident. Countless disciples and powerful people were killed, and they would not be able to recover from this setback. the only one who could hold their heads high was Chu Fengmian's Holy Dragon sect. Due to Yunzun's departure, everyone felt that the Holy Dragon sect had lost its former status and wanted to test the waters against the Holy Dragon sect. The position of the leader of the four sects was something that everyone wanted. However, Yunzun was not here today. Chu Fengmian alone was enough to destroy the entire law enforcement hall. Qing Meng was not weak either. She had someone like Long Qinjue who could make the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu cower. A starving camel was still bigger than a horse. There must be a reason why the Holy Dragon sect could occupy the position of the leader of the four sections. Junior brother, let's go. Qing Meng turned to Chu Fengmian and said. Let's go. Whoosh. Chu Fengmian, Qing Meng, and Long Qinjue turned into 3 streaks of light and returned to the Holy Dragon sect. The great battle had ended just like that. In the Holy Dragon sect, 4 people sat in a palace. Chu Fengmian, Qing Meng, Luo Kang, and Long Qinjue. The 4 of them sat together and were talking. Qing Meng, junior brother, what you did this time was too reckless. Long Qinjue glanced at Qing Meng and Chu Fengmian and sighed. The Holy Dragon secret realm is not as simple as you think. Today's matter may be over, but some of the higher-ups in the Holy Dragon secret realm will not let you go. Some higher-ups of the Holy Dragon secret realm? Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered. Ever since he had encountered the Emperor of 10,000 Dragons and the ancient Emperor of the Luo clan, Chu Fengmian had learned that there was a formidable force hidden within the sacred dragon mystical ground. What he had shown so far was only the tip of the iceberg. After all, as one of the 4 major forces of the Daluo star field, the Holy Dragon secret dimension was definitely not that simple. Qinjue. Qinjue marshals his dragon sects the sect S sect. S sects is cultivated. The core sects and in disciples and elders. Most of the elders are also cultivating in the Holy Dragon secret realm. Many of them were the hall masters of the 8 halls. Even the great elders of the 4 sects would enter the Holy Dragon secret realm to cultivate in seclusion after becoming Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations. Behind the law enforcement hall, there is a big shot. Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations is close to becoming a half-step celestial Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations. You destroyed the law enforcement hall today. Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations will not let this go. What? Close to becoming a half-step celestial being? Qing Meng's face changed when she heard this. Even the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations was not someone they could deal with. Let alone someone close to becoming a half-step celestial being. Senior brother, what should we do? Don't panic. Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations will not come out of seclusion for at least half a year. He and the other higher-ups are working together to comprehend the mystery of the celestial being realm. No one will dare to disturb him. Long Qinjue said slowly. But what about half a year later? Luo Kang asked worriedly. Half a year. For cultivators of their level, it was a matter of a snap of a finger. Some Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations realm had lived for tens of thousands of years. Half a year was a very short time. We will be safe for at least half a year. After that, we will have to rely on junior brother himself. Long Qinjue looked at Chu Fengmian with a gratified look in his eyes. Junior brother's strength is beyond my imagination. In the future, the Holy Dragon sect will have to rely on junior brother. After sighing, Long Qinjue's eyes turned serious as he said. Now, the first thing is to let junior brother go to the Holy Land and become a holy son. Once he becomes a holy son, his status will be raised a lot. He will be on the same level as many supreme elders. Even the higher-ups will not dare to punish a holy son. The second thing is to let junior brother step into the Emperor realm in half a year. Once he steps into the Emperor realm, with junior brother's strength, he will be able to compete with the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. Even if he is not a match for that Emperor Gu, he will have no problem protecting himself. Long Qinjue's first goal was to become a holy son. It was not difficult for Chu Fengmian. According to the rules of the Holy Dragon's secret domain, any disciple with the potential of peerless Emperor Gu could become a holy son. Chu Fengmian's current strength was far enough. But stepping into the Emperor realm was not that easy. Even now, Chu Fengmian had not really touched the threshold of the Emperor realm. Although half a year was tight for Chu Fengmian, it was not impossible for him to step into the Emperor realm. There is no time to lose. I will take junior brother to the Holy Land now. Long Qinjue looked at Chu Fengmian and said. Chu Fengmian listened to Long Qinjue's words and nodded. He had planned to go to the Holy Land and become a holy son. At the same time, he would look for Han Yueli and Luo Shi. It was time for him to go now. Senior sister. Suddenly, several saint pills appeared in Chu Fengmian's hand and he handed them all to Qing Meng. These saint pills, without exception, were all used to assist in breaking through to the next realm. Although they were not as good as the original Emperor pills, they were enough to increase the chances of breaking through to the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu by 30%. In the outside world, every single saint elixir pill was enough to make countless experts fight to the death for it. Please accept these saint pills, senior sister. I can't accept them. Qing Meng looked at these saint pills with hesitation in her eyes. She knew the value of these saint pills. Senior sister, please accept them. Only when senior sister steps into the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu can our Holy Dragon sect truly have the capital to establish ourselves. This battle had also made Chu Fengmian realize that he alone would not be able to contend against the entire Sacred Dragon secret domain. Only by making the people around him stronger could they resist all the dangers. Chapter 1440. After hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Qing Meng did not hesitate and took all the sacred pills. Although she had obtained a primitive emperor pill in the 9 mystic celestial sovereigns' cave, she only had a 50% chance of reaching the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu. After all, Qing Meng was still young and had not accumulated enough experience as an 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. With these sacred pills, Qing Meng had at least an 80% chance of reaching the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu. This was enough for her to give it a try. The Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu was vastly different from the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. The difference was at least 10 times. If the Holy Dragon sect had a 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu, the Law Enforcement Hall would not dare to provoke the Holy Dragon sect. Senior sister, please give this primitive emperor pill to Emperor Yan. Chu Fengmian waved his hand, and another primitive emperor pill flew out. Not only Qing Meng, but Chu Fengmian also wanted a few more 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu on his side. Only then would they have the ability to contend with the Holy Dragon secret realm. Chu Fengmian had wanted to test Emperor Yan, but he did not have so much time now. The 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu that Chu Fengmian could trust were only Qing Meng and Emperor Yan. Primitive Emperor Pill, junior brother's wealth is truly shocking. Long Qinjue sighed when he saw the primitive Emperor Pill. If he had obtained a primitive Emperor Pill back then, it would have been much easier for him to reach the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. At least he could have reached the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu decades earlier. Is there anything you need, second senior brother? Chu Fengmian looked at Long Qinjue when he heard this. Chu Fengmian was full of admiration for this second senior brother. Long Qinjue had already cut ties with the Holy Dragon secret realm. He could have stayed out of today's matter to avoid trouble. But Long Qinjue still stood out and protected Chu Fengmian. Without Long Qinjue, today's matter would have been difficult to resolve. This alone was enough to earn Chu Fengmian's respect. Me? With my current strength, any external items won't be of much use. Long Qinjue smiled. Thank you for your kind intentions, junior brother. Yes. Chu Fengmian knew that Long Qinjue wasn't trying to make excuses. Although Chu Fengmian did not know Long Qinjue's true cultivation level, he was afraid that Long Qinjue had already stepped into the half-step celestial realm. Even if he was not, he was very close to the half-step celestial realm. To such an expert, external objects were no longer sufficient to improve his strength unless it was an extreme Tao immortal weapon, the innate divine beast's blood essence, or the nine profundity immortal technique. Of course, Chu Fengmian wouldn't take the initiative to give these things away. These were the foundation of Chu Fengmian's strength. Luokan, you should cultivate well in the Holy Dragon sect during this period of time. At the very least, you should reach Emperor Gu's level. That way, the remnants of the law enforcement hall won't go after you. Chu Fengmian turned around and said to Luokan. Although the law enforcement hall was destroyed, there were still a large number of disciples who survived. Among these people, there was no small number who wanted to take revenge on Chu Fengmian. They didn't dare to deal with Chu Fengmian, but it was enough to deal with Luokan. As Chu Fengmian spoke, he took out an empty ring and handed it to Luokan. There was a large amount of cultivation resources and countless sacred elixirs in it. It was enough for Luokan to reach Emperor Gu's level. Yes, senior brother. Luokan took the empty ring and said respectfully. This time, he had almost died and his fighting spirit had been aroused. With his talent, it wouldn't be difficult for him to reach Emperor Gu's level. Alright, if there's nothing else, let's set off now. Long Qinjue said. Alright. Chu Fengmian's figure flashed and he followed Long Qinjue out of the Holy Dragon sect. The two streaks of light not only left the Holy Dragon sect, but they also headed west and left the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm. The sacred land isn't in the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm. It's a separate extraterritorial place. It's usually hidden in the Sea of Stars. Among the disciples, only the chosen and some core disciples with great potential are qualified to enter. Long Qinjue and Chu Fengmian conversed as they flew. Many of the chosen in the sacred land are not to be underestimated. For example, Little Emperor Yi, Little Ju Di, and the others. Even with your strength, you may not be able to defeat them. What? Chu Fengmian was inwardly shocked. Chu Fengmian had never thought much of the chosen in the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm. After all, they were just disciples. Chu Fengmian's current strength was enough to kill 8th Tribulation Emperor Gu. Dealing with the chosen would be a piece of cake. But now Long Qinjue was saying that Chu Fengmian might not be a match for some of the chosen. Long Qinjue was well aware of Chu Fengmian's strength, and yet he said something like that. Little Emperor Yi? Little Ju Di? What a strange name. Chu Fengmian suddenly thought of something and said. What do these two have to do with Little Emperor Yi and Ju Di? Chu Fengmian recalled seeing these two names in the Hall of Enlightenment. They were experts from the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm 100,000 years ago, half a step into the celestial realm. But they'd long since perished. Now that he heard the names of Little Emperor Yi and Little Ju Di, no matter how he looked at it, they had something to do with Little Emperor Yi and Ju Di. You figured it out so quickly? Long Qinjue was surprised by Chu Fengmian's words. He laughed. That's right. Little Emperor Yi and Little Ju Di have received the legacies of Little Emperor Yi and Ju Di. But it's not as simple as that. They've also inherited a portion of Little Emperor Yi and Ju Di's power. So, although they're only boundary emperors, their true strength is enough to surpass most of the venerated elders. That's why I said you may not be a match for them. Legacies of power? Chu Fengmian's brows furrowed. Receiving the legacies of powerful experts was a common occurrence in every era. Chu Fengmian had received the 9 profound immortal arts, so he'd received the legacy of the 9 profound immortal sovereign. But he'd never heard of a legacies of power. It's a secret art of the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm. When powerful experts die, they can leave behind a portion of their power for their successors to inherit. Long Qinjue explained. Little Emperor Yi, for example. He inherited Little Emperor Ye's legacy. So, as a boundary emperor, he can fight Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations. Fight Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations. Chu Fengmian had fought Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations before. He knew how terrifying Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations was. Chapter 1441. The methods of the sacred dragon's secret domain are indeed beyond my imagination. Chu Fengmian thought to himself. It was actually enough to pass down the power of a fallen master and allow other cultivators to succeed him. This was like obtaining a huge fortune out of nowhere. The moment little Emperor Yi obtained the power inheritance, he would be able to leave other cultivators in the dust. In this way, it would be enough for the masters of the sacred dragon's secret domain to pass down their power generation after generation, and their foundation would become deeper and deeper. The power inheritance secret technique is nothing special. At the very least, the four great forces of the Daluo star field all know this kind of secret technique. Xing Xian suddenly spoke in Chu Feng's mind. In ancient times, almost every sect had a secret art that could pass down this kind of power. Xing Xian, do you know of it? Chu Fengmian was a little surprised. This power inheritance secret technique should be considered a secret in the sacred dragon's secret domain. If Chu Fengmian wasn't going to the Holy Land this time, Long Qinjue might not have told him. What's the big deal about it? It's not a secret at all. This power inheritance secret skill is an extremely powerful secret skill. Any expert who has reached the 9 Calamity Ancient Emperor realm or above can use this power inheritance secret skill to leave behind a Saraira before they die. Whoever obtains this relic will be able to obtain the power left behind in it. However, this power inheritance secret technique is not as perfect as you think. Xing Xian spoke slowly. Once a cultivator accepts this power inheritance secret technique, their strength will never be able to surpass the previous masters. It's like if you obtain the relic of a half-step Emperor Realm Master, but in the future, the cultivator's potential will be limited to that of a half-step Emperor Realm Master. Even if you obtain a heaven-shaking opportunity, you won't be able to surpass this limit. This is the weakness of this power inheritance secret technique. Therefore, in ancient times, even though every sect had this kind of power inheritance secret technique, very few were willing to accept it. True geniuses would never accept this kind of power inheritance secret technique. I didn't expect this kind of secret technique to be so precious in this era. Xing Xian pursed his lips as he spoke. Because times have changed. After hearing Xing Xian's words, Chu Fengmian also understood that this power inheritance secret technique was far from being as perfect as Chu Fengmian had imagined. Obtaining the experience and strength of their predecessors was enough to allow a martial artist to rise rapidly. But in the end, no matter what, they would never be able to break through the bottleneck of their predecessors. Little Emperor Yi, for example. Little Judy's legacy was half a step into the celestial realm. In this day and age, reaching the celestial realm was almost impossible. That was why they were willing to choose this power inheritance secret technique. But for Chu Fengmian, it was impossible to choose this power inheritance secret technique. His goal was the celestial realm, and he would never lose the big picture for small gains. After understanding this, Chu Fengmian felt relieved. There were no shortcuts on the path of the strong. The shortcut he took now might become a bottleneck in the future. He had to be down to earth and step by step become an expert. Why isn't such a figure on the All-Heaven Genius rankings? Chu Fengmian suddenly asked doubtfully. To be able to fight against the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu as a quasi-emperor, it would be a piece of cake for him to obtain the top spot on the Grand Luo Genius roll. Even Qing Meng didn't have such heaven-defying strength in the past. Only geniuses who haven't experienced the power inheritance secret technique are on the Grand Luo Genius roll. It's not just little Emperor Yi and the others. The disciples of the other 3 factions who have received the power inheritance secret technique won't be on the roll either. Long Qinjue said with a smile. The 2 of them had arrived in the starry sky. It was extremely spacious and there were no other continents around. The entrance to the sacred ground of the Holy Dragon's secret realm is nearby. Oh? Someone got here before us? Chu Fengmian's eyes had just looked over when he saw a group of people in the starry sky not far ahead. There were more than a dozen cultivators in total and they stood majestically in the starry sky. One of the old men waved his hand. A jade talisman suddenly appeared in his hand and flew out. the jade talisman flew out in the starry sky and immediately released spiritual energy. A teleportation array appeared in the sky and the group stepped into it. These people are also cultivators of the Holy Dragon secret realm? Chu Fengmian's eyes flashed as he sized up the group. Most of the guards in the group had the strength of a 6th tribulation true emperor. Every one of them was extremely young and seemed to have a bright future ahead of them. They all had the chance to reach the level of Emperor Gu. In the Holy Dragon secret realm, they were at least geniuses at the level of a core disciple. As for the old man, he was an 8th tribulation Emperor Gu. His strength was enough to be on the same level as the myriad dragons king. Of course, the one with the highest status in the group wasn't the old man. It was a very young man. He looked like he wasn't even 100 years old, but he was already a genius who had become an Emperor Gu. When the old man faced the young man, he was incomparably respectful. Judging by the group, they must have entered the sacred ground of the Holy Dragon secret realm. This group of people should be from Qilin Mountain. Long Qinjue glanced at them and said, "Many geniuses from the 4 major powers often fight against each other. Every 3 years, there will be a competition between the 4 major powers. Therefore, there is a chance to meet the disciples of the other 3 major powers in the sacred ground. It's none of our business. Let's enter the sacred ground directly." Long Qinjue looked at the stars in front of him and waved his hand. He didn't take out a jade talisman like the old man did. Instead, a very unique spirit energy was emitted from his palm. He pointed his finger and a teleportation formation appeared in front of Chu Fengmian and Long Qinjue. The two of them stepped into the teleportation array and disappeared from the starry sky. The group of people that Chu Fengmian saw in the teleportation formation also noticed Chu Fengmian. The young man who was the leader asked, "Those two seem to be coming to the sacred ground of the Holy Dragon secret realm. That little guy should be a newly promoted Holy Prince." "I don't know. There hasn't been any news of a new Holy Prince in the Holy Dragon secret realm recently. Maybe it's a core disciple who got the chance to go to the sacred ground for training. That little guy is not worthy of young master's attention." A disciple from Qilinshan flattered. Chapter 1442. What marriage alliance? That girl is qualified to marry our young master. It's her fortune. Another Qilin Mountain disciple flattered. It's said that Luo Shi is not only beautiful, but her bloodline is also extremely noble. It's said that she has the bloodline of an innate divine beast. If young master marries her and obtains the power of her bloodline, who will be able to compete with young master in the future? That's right. Although our ancestors don't know what Luo Shi's bloodline is, it's definitely a good innate divine beast bloodline. That's why they sent me here to propose marriage." The young man sneered and said, "I just happened to learn a secret technique when I was young. After I marry her, I can use it on her and extract the power of her bloodline. It's said that Luo Shi has a close friend called Hanyue Li. She's also a first-class beauty. If young master marries both of them, you'll be truly blessed." Another Qilin Mountain disciple said, "In my opinion, it's better for both of them to marry young master." "Forget it. This time, in order to show the sincerity of our Qilin Mountain, we'll just ask for Luo Shi's hand in marriage. As for that Hanyue Li, after I marry Luo Shi and take her bloodline, wouldn't she be mine?" The young man laughed loudly. "Let's go. When we reach the sacred ground, we can't talk nonsense like this anymore." "Yes, we all know." The other Qilin Mountain disciples were also laughing as they entered the Holy Land through the teleportation magic array. "Damn it. This guy is courting death." Chu Fengmian, who was at the back, heard all the conversations of the Qilin Mountain disciples. In his heart, there was endless anger. If this wasn't the sacred ground, Chu Fengmian would have rushed up and killed the young man and the group of Qilin Mountain disciples on the spot. Hanyue Li and Luo Shi were both Chu Fengmian's women. Now, someone dared to have ideas about his women. Propose marriage? Chu Fengmian's eyes flashed with killing intent. When the young man went to propose marriage, Chu Fengmian would definitely give him a big gift. Chu Fengmian's thoughts were incomparably deep. All of this flashed through his mind. As for Chu Fengmian, there was no change in his expression. "Junior brother, I still have some matters to attend to, so I'll accompany you to the Holy Land. After passing the Saint's test, I'll be leaving. If you encounter any problems in the future, you'll have to deal with them yourself," Long Qinjue said to Chu Fengmian. He had exited his closed-door training this time because of Luo Kang's matter. He was in the most critical period of comprehending martial arts. After sending Chu Fengmian to the Holy Land, he would have to go back and continue comprehending. "Sorry to trouble you, second senior brother." Chu Fengmian expressed his gratitude. Long Qinjue had forced himself out of seclusion because of them. "It's my duty. Since eldest senior brother isn't here, I naturally won't let anyone bully the Holy Dragon sect." Long Qinjue's eyes flashed fiercely. "Let's go. We'll go straight into the depths." Inside the teleportation portal, Chu Fengmian felt the world spinning around him. In an instant, he had traveled thousands of kilometers. Along the way, Chu Fengmian had lost count of how many restrictive arrays he had seen. These restrictive arrays surrounded the Holy Land layer by layer. Even some of the more powerful Emperor Gu of the Nine Tribulations would find it difficult to force their way in if they knew where the Holy Land was. Those who tried to force their way in would only be killed by the restrictive arrays above. Along the way, Chu Fengmian saw some skeletons. These skeletons had remained intact for tens of thousands of years. Obviously, they were some powerful cultivators who had tried to force their way into the Holy Land but were killed by the restrictive arrays above. The Holy Dragon's secret realm was indeed powerful, but it also had many enemies. The Holy Land could be said to be the foundation of everything in the Holy Dragon's secret realm. If the Holy Land was destroyed, the Holy Dragon's secret realm would cease to exist. Gradually, Chu Fengmian and Long Qinjue's figures passed through countless restrictive arrays and arrived at the top of a huge mountain. This mountain was much larger than the 12 mountains in the Sacred Dragon Mystery Plane combined. It was hundreds of thousands of feet tall and pierced through the clouds, soaring into the sky. At a glance, one could not see the top of the mountain. On this mountain, there were many palaces. Above each palace, there was an extremely powerful aura. Among these auras, none were weaker than Emperor Gu's. In the Holy Land, Emperor Gu was a presence that could be seen everywhere. There were at least thousands of Emperor Gu or geniuses who had not stepped into the Emperor Gu's realm but had the strength of Emperor Gu. There are many Emperor Gu of the 7 Tribulations and Emperor Gu of the 8 Tribulations. There is an even more terrifying force hidden in the depths. Chu Fengmian could feel that there was an extremely threatening force hidden above the clouds above the mountain peak. The 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. The 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu of the Holy Dragon's secret realm was also cultivating in the Holy Land. However, he was above the clouds and the other disciples could not see him. It was rare to see newcomers in the Holy Land. Seeing Chu Fengmian and Long Qinjue's escape light, many people looked over curiously. However, most of them were just curious and there was not much hostility. Chu Fengmian's reputation in the Holy Dragon's secret realm should not have spread to the Holy Land. Otherwise, the saints from the 10,000 Dragon Hall, Sword Comprehension Hall, and Law Enforcement Hall would not turn a blind eye to it. "Let's go to the mountain gate." Long Qinjue led Chu Fengmian all the way to a gate on the mountain peak. Behind the gate was a huge palace. Inside the palace, an old man saw Long Qinjue and hurriedly flew out to welcome him. Because of Yunzun, Long Qinjue's reputation in the Holy Dragon's secret realm was not as prominent. However, those who were in the same generation as Long Qinjue clearly knew how powerful Long Qinjue was. Although the old man who flew out was an 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu, he was extremely respectful towards Long Qinjue. Someone else has come to the Holy Land? Someone suddenly became a saint? Why didn't we hear about it? Which sect or hall is it from? That old man's aura is so terrifying. Look, Emperor Gu of the Blue Sail sect has come out to welcome him. Seeing the old man fly out of the palace, many of the holy sons of the Holy Lands were surprised. Emperor Gu of the Blue Sail sect was the butler of all the saints in the Holy Land. Although he was not the most powerful, he was still an 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. Usually, some of the Grand Elders and the Grand Elders of the 4 sects would take the initiative to enter the palace to look for him. Today, he came out to welcome him. Looks like this person is not ordinary. Even if he is not a peerless genius, he must have a shocking background. Chapter 1443. Even Emperor Gu of Tsangfan came out to welcome him personally. This attracted the attention of many saints from the sacred grounds. So what? A peerless genius? Before we entered the sacred grounds, we were all peerless geniuses. How dare a newbie show off? We must teach him a lesson. Some of the saints looked at Chu Fengmian with hostility. Every single one of these saints was a prodigy of the heavens. Who would be willing to be inferior to others? Now that they saw Chu Fengmian's background, they were even more hostile towards him and wanted to trample him under their feet. The competition between the saints was many times more intense than the competition between the disciples in the sacred dragon mystery dimension. For example, in the Holy Dragon secret realm, Chu Fengmian had joined the Holy Dragon sect. Countless people had formed enmity and provoked Chu Fengmian. These saints were lawless people. Other than strength, they did not care about anything else. It was said that some of the saints did not even give face to the Grand Elders in the sacred dragon mystery dimension and had beaten them up. Such people could only be subdued with strength. Chu Fengmian looked at the countless saints and sneered. He did not say anything and flew over with Long Chenjue. This is Chu Fengmian, a disciple of the Holy Dragon sect. He already has the strength to become a saint. I brought him to the sacred dragon mystery dimension to help him become a saint. Long Chenjue said indifferently when he saw Emperor Gu of Tsangfan coming over. Go and help him with the procedures to become a saint. Well, to become a saint, one has to go through a test. Emperor Gu of Tsangfan hesitated when he heard Long Chenjue's words. After the test, he has to be observed for 3 months. Only after he is sure of his loyalty to the sacred dragon mystery dimension can he become a saint. A saint was the most respected position among the disciples of the sacred dragon mystery dimension. Every saint represented the face of the sacred dragon mystery dimension. Therefore, for every saint to be promoted, they had to go through a lot of tests. Strength, loyalty, and potential were all indispensable. 3 months? That would take so long. Tsangfan, are you doubting my junior? Long Chenjue snorted coldly. What, you still don't trust me? I wouldn't dare, I wouldn't dare. Hearing the anger in Long Chenjue's words, Emperor Gu of Tsangfan smiled apologetically. He didn't dare to offend Long Chenjue, even though there were rumors that the upper echelons were already dissatisfied with the Holy Dragon sect. But now that he had offended Long Chenjue, he would be dead before that day came. I'll do it right away. Little brother, please follow me. Emperor Gu glanced at Chu Fengmian and hurriedly led him into the palace. Because of Long Chenjue, he didn't dare call Chu Fengmian too loudly. Take out your identity card. Emperor Gu of Tsangfan said. Chu Fengmian waved his hand and took out his identity card. Tsangfan Emperor Gu took the identity card and infused it with spiritual energy. Soon, Chu Fengmian's identity badge turned into a sparkling green color, and the word Saint was written on it. This was the identity card with the word Saint in the Holy Dragon secret territory. Becoming a chosen meant that one had joined the core of the sacred dragon mystery domain. Each of these chosen had a bright future ahead of them. If there were no accidents, they would definitely become Grand Elders in the future. It was even possible for them to become sect masters and hall masters of the 4 sects and 8 halls. Chu Fengmian, from today onwards, you are the saint of the Holy Dragon secret territory. Your status is on par with the Grand Elders. You don't even need to bow when you meet the Grand Elders. Emperor Gu of Tsangfan handed the identity card to Chu Fengmian and said. On the Saint Peak, there are countless empty caves. You can choose any one of them to be your cave. As for the rest, there are no rules in the Holy Dragon's secret territory except that you are not allowed to go to the peak. You can use everything in the Holy Dragon's secret territory. You can also leave the Holy Dragon's secret territory as you wish. The way to return to the Holy Dragon's secret territory is recorded in your identity card. Emperor Guoftsang Fan explained many things about the Holy Dragon's secret territory. This was more or less on account of Long Qinjue. Otherwise, he would not care about any newly promoted saint, let alone explain in such detail. Thank you, Emperor Guoftsang Fan. Chu Fengmian took the identity card and turned to leave. He had a rough understanding of the Holy Dragon's secret territory from his conversation with Long Qinjue. The Holy Dragon's secret territory was extremely lax. As long as one did not break any rules, one was basically free. In the Holy Dragon's secret territory, one could fight with other saints and use the resources to cultivate. One could also leave the Holy Dragon's secret territory as one wished. There were only two ironclad rules. One was that fellow disciples were not allowed to kill each other. The other was that one was not allowed to step onto the peak. This was also the ironclad rule of the Holy Dragon's secret territory. Although it was not very useful, one would be punished for blatantly breaking the rules. Unless there was a blood feud, very few people dared to break this rule. As for the second rule, it was because the peak was where the higher-ups of the Holy Dragon's secret territory cultivated in seclusion. All saints were not allowed to go near to avoid disturbing the higher-ups' seclusion. Once I'm in the Holy Dragon's secret territory, I can look for Hanueli and Luo Shi. Chu Fengmian gathered his spiritual awareness and slowly scanned the entire Holy Dragon's secret territory. In the Holy Dragon's secret territory, Chu Fengmian could clearly feel the traces of their spiritual power. It was obvious that the two of them were cultivating in the Holy Dragon's secret territory. However, Chu Fengmian observed carefully and only found Luo Shi. As for Hanueli, she seemed to have left the Holy Dragon's secret territory and gone to other places. This was not strange. Cultivating in seclusion would not make one a strong person. Apart from cultivating in seclusion, it was also important to gain experience. Therefore, there were close to 1,000 saints in the Holy Dragon's secret territory. However, there were less than 100 of them left in the Holy Dragon's secret territory. Most of the saints were also cultivating outside. They only returned to the Holy Dragon's secret territory when they needed to rest or cultivate in seclusion to reach a higher level. Let's go find Luo Shi first. Chu Fengmian's eyes darkened. The group of Qilin Mountain disciples that he had just met had come for Luo Shi. They were planning to propose marriage. Chu Fengmian also had to tell Luo Shi about this so that they could discuss countermeasures. Chu Fengmian sensed that Luo Shi should be in a huge palace on the peak of the mountain. There were 8 saints gathered in the palace. They should be a small group. Chapter 1444. This palace belonged to the group of holy sons of the Five Spirits sect. It seemed that Luo Shi had also integrated into the sacred land. Chu Fengmian got up and left the palace, flying directly towards the huge palace where Luo Shi was. So fast? Did this person not pass the assessment? Directly promoted to a saint? Seeing Chu Fengmian's escape light fly out of the palace, many saints were surprised. What is the background of this kid? He became a saint without passing the assessment? This has never happened in the sacred land for many years. These chosens had gone through countless tests before finally being promoted to chosens. The saints represented the most elite disciples of the sacred dragon's secret domain, and also the core of the sacred dragon's secret domain. Therefore, the assessment of every saint was extremely strict. The disciples who had the opportunity to be promoted to a saint were almost all the geniuses of the various sects and halls. Every one of them was ranked at the top of the Great Luo Genius ranking. Even so, there were still a large number of people who were eliminated because they did not pass the assessment. Every holy son in the entire Holy Land was considered a proud son of heaven, a genius among geniuses. Now that they saw that Chu Fengmian had actually become a chosen without passing the test, Many chosen revealed looks of jealousy in their eyes. Just as Chu Fengmian left the palace, a few of the saints revealed anger and planned to teach Chu Fengmian a lesson. But when they reached the direction where Chu Fengmian was flying, they stopped. This kid is going to the Five Spirits Sect's palace? This person is a disciple of the Five Spirits Sect? They looked at the direction where Chu Fengmian was flying towards the Five Spirits Sect's palace and were all shocked. It doesn't look like it. This person doesn't cultivate the cultivation technique of the Five Spirits Sect. Then why is he looking for those monsters of the Five Spirits Sect? Don't bother about him. He just came to the sacred land and he dares to barge in. Those monsters of the Five Spirits Sect will teach him a lesson. The corners of the saints' mouths curled up into cold gazes as they looked at Chu Fengmian with mockery in their eyes. Those saints who were about to find trouble with Chu Fengmian also stopped and looked at Chu Fengmian with a sneer. He seemed to be waiting for Chu Fengmian to make a fool of himself. In the Holy Land, although there were sect rules that forbade the killing of fellow disciples, fights between fellow disciples were not prohibited. So in the Holy Lands, weak holy sons or newcomers would be taught a lesson by some experts. They were all waiting to see Chu Fengmian being taught a lesson. They watched Chu Fengmian head to the palace of the Five Spirits Sect as if they were watching a good show. Is there something strange about the Five Spirits Sect's palace? Chu Fengmian also noticed these strange gazes. Looking at the gazes of these holy sons, it was obvious that they were wary of the Five Spirits Sect's palace. It seemed that they were wary of the few holy sons of the Five Spirits Sect. However, Chu Fengmian was not worried. He was not looking for trouble today. Instead, he was looking for Luo Shi. Since Luo Shi had become a disciple of the Five Spirit Sect, the Five Spirit Sect should be a friend and not an enemy. The palace of the Five Spirits Sect was the largest on the sacred mountain. Only the palace of the Sacred Academy Sect was as large as the palace. Even the Six Ultimate Sect, which was at the bottom of the four sects, did not have such an imposing manner. Of course, the Holy Dragon Sect had few people. Besides Chu Fengmian, there were no other disciples of the Holy Dragon Sect in the Holy Land. Naturally, there was no palace belonging to the Holy Dragon Sect. The moment he approached the palace of the Five Spirits Sect, a restriction shrouded and blocked Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian felt that in addition to blocking people, this restriction also had the function of notifying other people in the palace of the Five Spirits Sect. As long as someone touched this restriction, the holy sons of the Five Spirits Sect would be able to detect it. Chu Fengmian only came to look for Luo Shi today. He did not intend to provoke the Five Spirits Sect. He condensed spiritual power on his finger and pointed at the restriction in front of him. Suddenly, a wave of ripples appeared on the restriction. This wave of spiritual power could not hurt the restriction, but it was enough to let others feel it. Boom! Not long after the ripples appeared on the restriction, a ray of light quickly flew out from the palace. At the same time, an extremely domineering power of the world appeared. The strength of this person had at least reached the level of the Seven Calamities Emperor Gu, or even the peak of the Seven Calamities Emperor Gu. Chu Fengmian also felt that the realm of this person was far from the Seven Calamities Emperor Gu. He was only a quasi-emperor. A quasi-emperor actually had the strength of the Seven Calamities Emperor Gu. Once this person broke through, he would definitely become a peerless Emperor Gu. There is still no lack of geniuses in the Holy Dragon Secret Territory. Chu Fengmian sighed in his heart when he saw the arrival of this person. As one of the four major forces of the Daluo star field, the Holy Dragon Secret Territory was indeed not as simple as it looked. This person's talent should be a little weaker than Qing Meng, but the difference was not too far. While Chu Fengmian was sighing, the light gradually revealed a figure. It was a red-haired youth. Fire spiritual power enveloped his body. He was obviously a fire-based martial artist. Who are you? Why have you barged into the Five Spirits Sect's palace? The red-haired youth glanced at Chu Fengmian. Seeing that Chu Fengmian's appearance was extremely unfamiliar, his face revealed some surprise. There were only so many saints in the Holy Land. Therefore, even if they were not familiar with each other, they would have seen each other before. And now, he had not even seen Chu Fengmian's appearance before. "My name is Chu Fengmian. I'm here to look for someone called Luo Shi." Chu Fengmian said casually. "She's someone I know." Chu Fengmian? Hearing this name, the red-haired youth frowned. In his memory, not only the saints, he had never heard of such a person among the core disciples. Of course, the main reason was that Chu Fengmian was originally a newcomer to the Holy Dragon secret territory. A newcomer who could be promoted to a saint so quickly was already the first person in the entire Holy Dragon secret territory. The news of the Holy Land was already blocked. In addition, to the saints, the news of a newcomer was not worth paying attention to. They had never even heard of it before. However, the red-haired youth also saw the identity badge on Chu Fengmian's chest. There was the word saint on it and the unique spiritual power of the Holy Land. It could not be faked. He was also a saint. You should be a newly promoted saint. A newly promoted saint, shouldn't you find a cave and look for junior sister Luo Shi first? The red-haired youth looked at Chu Fengmian with some impatience in his eyes. Chapter 1445. If you don't believe me, you can tell Luo Shi that my name is Chu Fengmian. She will know if you tell her my name. Chu Fengmian saw the red-haired youth's expression and realized that the red-haired youth probably thought that Chu Fengmian was one of Luo Shi's suitors. However, Chu Fengmian had also heard that Luo Shi had many suitors in the sacred dragon mystery domain. Even the geniuses of the other three major forces had many suitors for Luo Shi. Many of these suitors did not come with good intentions. The red-haired youth must have seen more than one of Luo Shi's suitors, which was why he was so impatient. You don't have to tell junior sister Luo Shi. Don't you want to see her? Sure, I'll let you in if you defeat me. If you lose, leave obediently and don't harass junior sister Luo Shi in the future. The red-haired youth stared at Chu Fengmian and said coldly. You and I are both quasi-emperors. How about we fight like this? You want to fight with me? Chu Fengmian laughed when he heard the red-haired youth's words. Although the red-haired youth was not weak, he was far from being Chu Fengmian's opponent. His strength was only at the peak of the 7 Tribulations Emperor Gu. Chu Fengmian, on the other hand, was strong enough to kill the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. The difference in strength between the two was huge. Chu Fengmian was a little unwilling to fight. What? You don't dare? You're a chosen after all. Don't you have the courage? The red-haired youth sneered when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. He thought that Chu Fengmian was afraid and laughed coldly. If you don't dare, leave now to avoid physical pain. Forget it. If you want to fight, come at me. Chu Fengmian could not be bothered to talk nonsense after hearing the red-haired youth's words. He could tell that most of the chosen in the sacred ground were battle maniacs. Only strength was enough to make them submit. Everything else was nonsense. Strength was just words here. Everything else was just empty talk. When facing a group of heaven's prides, one had to make them submit. Oh? At least you have some backbone. A newcomer dares to fight with me. Not bad. It seems that you don't know me either. My name is Yan Hanshi. It's not an injustice for you to be defeated by me. The red-haired youth called Yan Hanshi laughed heartily as he spoke. Yan Hanshi? You've never received a power inheritance before? Chu Fengmian said in surprise when he heard the name Yan Hanshi. For a quasi-emperor to possess such strength, Chu Fengmian's first reaction was that he must have inherited the power. If he had inherited the power, it would have been easy for him to achieve all this. However, to possess such strength without receiving any power inheritance, this Yan Hanshi's talent was most definitely not low. Even if he was inferior to Qing Meng, he was most definitely a genius on the same level as her. Power inheritance? Who would accept that kind of thing, that kind of shortcut? It's better not to take it. Yan Hanshi sneered. He showed great disdain toward the inheritance of power. Seeing that you haven't received any power inheritance, I'll give you a piece of advice. You'd better not touch it unless you don't have the heart of a powerhouse. Receiving a power inheritance almost meant that one would never have the chance to step into the celestial realm in their lifetime. After all, the highest power inheritance in the entire Daluo star field was at the half-step celestial realm. As for the celestial realm, they wouldn't leave behind any power inheritance. Geniuses who wanted to step into the celestial realm in the future wouldn't choose to receive a power inheritance. Thank you for the reminder, brother. Chu Fengmian smiled when he heard Yan Hanqi's words. This Yan Hanqi was a good person. Seeing that Chu Fengmian was a newcomer, he came to remind Chu Fengmian. Many saints couldn't help but accept a power inheritance after entering the Holy Land. This was a shortcut to reaching the heavens in a single bound. Of course, there were also some saints whose goal wasn't just to reach the half-step celestial realm, but to break through to the true celestial realm. For these people, a power inheritance was beneath them. If I defeat you, you'll take me to Luoxi? Chu Fengmian looked at Yan Hanqi and asked. That's right. Yan Hanqi nodded his head and said. Well then, make your move. Chu Fengmian looked at Yan Hanqi and said calmly. I'll let you make the first move. Chu Fengmian's words revealed a look of incomparable confidence, which made Yan Hanqi look a little angry. You talk big, but I don't know if your power is as strong as your tone. Earth fire. Boom. In the palm of Yan Hanqi, an incomparably red flame condensed. At a glance, one could see 9 different colors within this cluster of flames. These 9 colors seemed to be different flames, but they were gathered together by Flame World shaking with a unique power, turning into an incomparably domineering flame. In terms of power, it wasn't much inferior to Chu Fengmian's pure Yang Sky Fire. Earth Fire? The fusion of the 9-fold Earth Fire? Chu Fengmian observed and said coldly. The 9 colors of this flame were almost exactly the same as the 9-fold Earth Fire. Heaven had the 9-fold Heavenly Fire, and so did the 9-fold Earth Fire. The 9-fold Earth Fire was slightly inferior to the 9-fold Heavenly Fire, but it wasn't something that could be touched by martial artists. Normally, when refining elixirs, the Earth Fire would be drawn out, but it would only be the first and second Earth Fires. Now, Yan Hanqi had control of all the 9-fold Earth Fires. That's a little tricky. Yan Hanqi said with some admiration in his eyes. I call this flame the world-shaking Earth Fire. Be careful. Fire bird. Whoosh. The world-shaking Earth Fire in Yan Hanqi's palm suddenly flew out and turned into a fire bird in front of him. It roared at Chu Fengmian and flew over immediately. This fire bird was no different from a real bird. Even the sound of the bird was exactly the same. To be able to achieve such a lifelike state through the condensation of flames was enough to prove the brilliance of Yan Hanqi's fire control. None of the saints in the sacred dragon mystery dimension were weak. This was the first time he had fought with a saint from a sacred ground. Yan Hanqi was definitely an expert. However, in terms of flames, Chu Fengmian wasn't inferior. Fire bird, go! Whoosh! A colorless flame suddenly ignited in Chu Fengmian's palm. It turned into a firebird and flew out. Chu Fengmian's fire control might not be as profound as Yan Hanqi's. However, Chu Fengmian was stronger than Yan Hanqi in one aspect. Chu Fengmian had the Ice Fire Divine Body. With his Ice Fire Divine Body, he could control flames like he was controlling his own body. Chapter 1446. Pure Yang Heavenly Fire. When Yan Hanqi saw the fire bird formed by the pure Yang Heavenly Flame, his eyes flashed with surprise. He observed it carefully and his expression changed. Innate Divine Body? Yan Hanqi could not detect the aura of fire elemental skill on Chu Fengmian's body. He was stunned when he saw the pure Yang Heavenly Fire. However, he immediately reacted. A flame like the pure Yang Heavenly Fire was something that even an expert with a profound understanding of the Tao of fire couldn't control. For example, Yan Hanqi could only control the 9-fold Earth Fire. The pure Yang Heavenly Fire was far beyond his ability to control. There was only one possibility that could control the pure Yang Heavenly Fire, and that was the innate Divine Body. Since you dare to pursue junior sister Luoshi, it seems that you have some ability. So what if you have the pure yang heavenly fire? My world-shaking earth fire is not inferior to the pure yang heavenly fire. Yan Hanshi snorted. Fire Phoenix Prairie Fire. Yan Hanshi displayed his fire-controlling Dao. Every flame in his palm was exquisitely controlled, besieging Chu Fengmian's pure yang heavenly fire. Under the siege, the pure yang skyfire was beaten back little by little. In terms of fire-controlling Dao, there was a huge gap between Chu Fengmian and Yan Hanshi. However, in terms of strength, Yan Hanshi was no match for him. Break! Chu Fengmian snorted. He did not bother with Yan Hanshi's flame entanglement. He commanded his fire bird to roar, spread its wings, and rush towards Yan Hanshi. Breaking all Dao with force. No matter how mysterious fire-controlling Dao was, Chu Fengmian only needed to break it with force. Whoosh! The fire bird condensed by the pure yang heavenly fire was extremely fast. It rushed in front of Yan Hanshi in an instant. Not good. Yan Hanshi's face suddenly became solemn. If the pure yang heavenly fire touched him, he would be doomed eternally. He kept retreating. At the same time, he gathered all the flames around him in an attempt to resist. All of you, break! Said Chu Fengmian with a cold smile. At the same time, he took a step forward and threw a punch. The pure yang heavenly fire became even more ferocious. Rumble! The barrier of flames in front of Yan Hanshi was completely destroyed. The scorching flames directly approached Yan Hanshi's body. When it was less than 3 inches away from God Yan Hanshi, it suddenly disappeared. Thanks for letting me win. At the last moment, Chu Fengmian withdrew his pure yang skyfire. He could also tell that Yan Hanshi was very concerned about Luoshi. In this sacred land, although it was allowed to injure others when sparring, Chu Fengmian didn't have any enmity with Yan Hanshi and didn't want to hurt him. Thank you. Yan Hanshi breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Chu Fengmian take back the pure yang skyfire. With his strength, although he wouldn't die from the pure yang skyfire, he would at least suffer some injuries that would take at least a few months to heal. Brother Chu's strength is indeed not something that I can defeat. I'll take you to see junior sister Luoshi. Yan Hanshi's personality was rather straightforward. A loss was a loss. He didn't give any explanation and directly said to Chu Fengmian. Follow me. Yan Hanshi said as he pointed his palm. The seal above the 5-spirit sect palace turned into an opening. Chu Fengmian followed closely behind and stepped into it. There was another world within the seal. From the outside, it looked like a palace. However, after entering, there was a huge valley. There were dozens of palaces in the valley. However, most of the palaces were empty and there were no martial artists in them. Junior sister Luoshi, you should be in the main palace today. I'll take you directly to the main palace. Yan Hanshi pointed at the largest palace in the valley as he walked in front. The disciples of the 5-spirit sect usually cultivate martial arts in the main palace. By the way, Brother Chu, which hall are you from? With your strength, I'm afraid you're either from the Saint Academy sect or the 6 Ultimate sect. Yan Hanshi suddenly asked Chu Fengmian curiously. Although he had been in the sacred ground for a long time, he knew a thing or two about the geniuses from the various sects who had hopes of entering the sacred ground. Now that he thought about it, he didn't expect Chu Fengmian to exist. Chu Fengmian seemed to have appeared out of thin air. I'm a disciple of the Holy Dragon sect. Chu Fengmian answered. Holy Dragon sect? Hearing this answer, Yan Hanshi was stunned. Then, he thought quickly and said with a horrified expression. Brother Chu, are you a newcomer to the Holy Dragon sect? There were only a few disciples in the Holy Dragon sect. When someone joined the Holy Dragon sect, it was the topic of discussion in the entire sacred ground. After all, almost every disciple of the Holy Dragon sect had the possibility of becoming Emperor Gu. Even if they didn't enter the sacred ground, their future achievements would be extremely high. For example, Qing Meng had never entered the sacred ground. However, her achievements were much higher than many saints. Yan Hanshi remembered that the only newcomer in the Holy Dragon sect that he didn't know should be this newcomer. A newcomer who had only joined for a few months had already become a saint. It was no wonder that Yan Hanshi was so shocked. One had to know that a newcomer needed more than 20 years to become a saint in the sacred ground. Now, Chu Fengmian had become a saint in just a few months. How could he not be shocked? That's right. Chu Fengmian nodded. It seemed that a newcomer joining the Holy Dragon sect was indeed a big deal. Even the sacred ground had heard about it. However, the news of Chu Fengmian causing a ruckus in the law enforcement hall should not have spread. Otherwise, Yan Hanshi would not be so surprised. After all, Chu Fengmian was the person who had killed the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu. With such strength, it was more than enough to join the sacred ground and become a saint. So you're a monster from the Holy Dragon sect. No wonder you're so powerful. The strength that Brother Chu displayed just now was probably less than 30% of your true strength. Yan Hanshi looked at Chu Fengmian and said with a smile. He could also see that Chu Fengmian's fire control was extremely crude. Clearly, he was not an expert who specialized in fire control. What I cultivate is the sword Dao. Chu Fengmian replied. He did not need to hide it. In the sacred ground, hiding one's strength would only make others look down on him. Only by displaying one's strength could one be respected. Sword Dao. Among the 5 spirit sect saints, there is also an expert in the sword Dao. His name is Tian Jiannan. Later, we can let him spar with Brother Chu. Yan Hanshi said with a smile. In the sacred ground, saints could spar with each other at will. Hence, many experts would spar with each other. Sure. Chapter 1447. The Holy Sons of the Holy Lands were all rare geniuses. For example, although Yan Hanshi's strength wasn't as good as Chu Fengmian's, his way of controlling fire was the most mysterious among all the cultivators Chu Fengmian had seen. Chu Fengmian could also learn the way of controlling fire by fighting with Yan Hanshi. It was definitely better to fight with these chosen than to cultivate bitterly. Chu Fengmian and Yan Hanshi chatted along the way as they walked towards the main hall. When they approached the main hall, Yan Hanshi suddenly turned back and said with some difficulty. Brother Chu, I can take you to see junior sister Luoshi, but if she doesn't want to see you, I can't do anything about it. There were many people pursuing Luoshi, but Yan Hanshi remembered that no one had been able to gain her favor. Originally, they could still talk, but as more and more people came to pursue her, it was difficult to even see her. It's fine. If she doesn't want to see me, just help me inform her. Chu Fengmian said with a smile. Oh? Brother Chu really knows junior sister Luoshi? Hearing this, Yan Hanshi was a little curious. He originally thought that Chu Fengmian was just making up a lie to deceive him. But now, it seemed that Chu Fengmian really did know Luoshi. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said such a thing. Yan Hanshi said curiously. Junior sister Luoshi's origin is incomparably mysterious. Even us senior brothers and sisters do not know where she came from. It seems that Brother Chu was acquainted with her before entering the sacred dragon mystery domain. That's right. Chu Fengmian nodded and didn't continue speaking. It seemed that Luoshi didn't expose the fact that she came from the 9 regions. Originally, it wasn't a big deal to come from the 9 regions, but now that Chu Fengmian knew more, he knew that it used to be one of the 4 sacred regions. Although it was a fallen sacred region, it was still very attractive to countless geniuses in the entire Daluo star field. Once it was exposed, countless experts would rush in and it would be a catastrophe for the 9 regions. Chu Fengmian was also from the 9 regions, so he naturally didn't want to see that happen. It seemed that Luoshi also knew this, so she didn't reveal her origin. What happened? Just as Chu Fengmian was pondering, Yan Hanshi suddenly exclaimed in surprise. A group of ancient martial art practitioners stood in front of the main hall. The attire of this group of ancient martial art practitioners was completely different from that of the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension's disciples. There was no Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension's identity token on their chests. Instead, the word Lin was engraved on the back of their clothes. The word Lin was carved using a unique method. It was likely that others would not be able to copy it even if they wanted to. How did the disciples of the Qilin Mountain return to our Five Spirits Palace? Yan Hanqi's eyes revealed a bit of surprise, as if he didn't know what was going on. He had been in seclusion in his own palace all this time. When he saw that the restriction formation was touched, he came out to fight with Chu Fengmian. As for what happened in the main palace, he really didn't know. This group? Chu Fengmian's eyes flashed. He recognized them at a glance. They were the disciples of Qilin Mountain who had entered before Chu Fengmian and Wang Qianjue. It was the young master in this group who wanted to propose marriage to Luo Shi. Now it seemed that the young master and the elder of the Eight Calamities Emperor Gu were not outside. They had obviously entered the main palace. Just in time. Chu Fengmian's eyes were cold. Propose marriage? Chu Fengmian wanted to see what kind of person dared to propose marriage to his woman. Let's go. Chu Fengmian's voice was so cold that even Yan Hanqi could hear it. However, Yan Hanqi didn't say anything and followed Chu Fengmian to the main palace. As they approached the Five Spirits Palace, a few disciples of the Qilin Mountain immediately walked up and looked coldly at Chu Fengmian and Yan Hanqi. Stop, our young master is proposing marriage to Miss Luo Shi. They are discussing marriage. No one is allowed to enter. As they spoke, the group of disciples of the Qilin Mountain had already sealed off the Five Spirits Palace. This made Yan Hanqi frown. He was a little unhappy. This was the Five Spirits Palace, the territory of the Five Spirits sect. As the chosen of the Five Spirits sect, he was actually blocked outside. Please go back. The Qilin Mountain disciple said coldly when he saw that Chu Fengmian and Yan Hanqi had no intention of retreating. Today's matter concerns the marriage between the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension and the Qilin Mountain. Do you two want to ruin it? If you know what's good for you, leave quickly. Get lost. Before Chu Fengmian could speak, Yan Hanqi was the first to speak. The four major forces had always been fighting openly and secretly. Now, this group of disciples of the Qilin Mountain was simply riding on the head of the Five Spirits sect. Courting death? You want to barge in? When the group of Qilin Mountain disciples heard this, they were all enraged. One by one, they activated their spiritual energy. When the leader saw Chu Fengmian in Yan Hanqi's realm, his eyes revealed a bit of disdain. Take them down. Don't let them disturb our young master's business. Yes. Boom. Several disciples of the Qilin Mountain displayed their power and turned it into a cage. They directly enveloped Chu Fengmian and Yan Hanqi and wanted to suppress them. A bunch of trash, how dare you attack me? Chu Fengmian's face darkened. When he fought with Yan Hanqi, Chu Fengmian still had some scruples and would not be ruthless. However, Chu Fengmian had no scruples against this group of disciples of the Qilin Mountain. Moreover, this group of people actually wanted to propose marriage to Luo Shi. They had simply touched Chu Fengmian's reverse scale. Die! Boom! The dragon roared and a battle dragon claw condensed above Chu Fengmian's head. It directly swept towards the group of disciples of the Qilin Mountain. The cage formed by the disciples of the Qilin Mountain was instantly broken. At the same time, the battle dragon claw directly bombarded the bodies of the Qilin Mountain disciples. Boom! The disciple of the Qilin Mountain who had spoken previously was the first to bear the brunt of the attack. Under the battle dragon claw, he was directly smashed and turned into a cloud of blood mist. Although the other disciples of the Qilin Mountain were slightly better, they were all seriously injured and fell to the ground. What's going on? Who is it? How dare you attack in the Five Spirits Hall? Swoosh! Swoosh! A few rays of light immediately flew out from the palace. These few people had an identity card with the word holy on their clothes. They were obviously the holy sons of the Holy Dragon Secret Territory. Senior Brother Mulin, Junior Brother Tsangtu. Seeing the first two rays of light, Yan Hanqi directly spoke. Junior brother Hanshi? What's going on? What happened? Chapter 1448. This group of Qilin Mountain disciples were all core disciples of Qilin Mountain. Although they were not saints, it was extremely troublesome for them to be injured like this. Senior brother Mulin, this group of people, before Yan Hanshi could speak, two figures suddenly came out from the main hall. These two figures were the 8th Tribulation Emperor Gu of Qilin Mountain and the young man who was about to propose marriage. The young man's expression changed drastically when he saw the Qilin Mountain disciples lying on the ground and the smell of blood in the air. He said in a gloomy voice, "What's going on? Young master. Young master, it's this person who injured us." The Qilin Mountain disciples lying on the ground shouted loudly when they saw the young man as though he was their savior. At the same time, they pointed at Chu Fengmian. "Kid, who are you? How dare you injure our Qilin Mountain disciples?" The young man stared at Chu Fengmian and said coldly, "Explain yourself." If you don't have a reasonable explanation. Although the young man did not finish his sentence, everyone understood the threat in his words. Explain? A group of Qilin Mountain disciples dare to show off in the sacred ground of the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension? Is there a need to explain? I'm already giving Qilin Mountain face by not killing them. Chu Fengmian said indifferently when he heard the young man's threat. As for who I am? You don't have the right to know. This is not a place where you can stay. Take them and get lost. Kid, do you want to die? The young man's face showed some anger when he heard the first sentence. He could no longer hold back his anger when he heard the second sentence. Elder Wang, capture this arrogant brat and teach him a lesson. Yes. Hearing the young man's words, the 8 Tribulations ancient emperor beside him nodded his head and stepped forward. He looked at Chu Fengmian and immediately unleashed his spiritual energy. The power of his palm was overwhelming. Elder Wang was much stronger than Yan Hanshi. After all, he was an 8th Tribulation Emperor Gu. Rumble. The spiritual power that filled the sky turned into a palm with 10 fingers in the air, oppressing Chu Fengmian. Each finger was like a formation eye, forming a big formation to suppress Chu Fengmian. Young Master Lin Lai. The 5 Spirit Sect's Holy Son, Mulin, who was standing beside Old Wang, also frowned and said when he saw Old Wang take action. He could also tell that Chu Fengmian was a holy son of a holy land. He was most likely a newly promoted holy son. Although Mulin did not know Chu Fengmian's identity, Chu Fengmian was still a holy son of the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension. If he was suppressed by Elder Wang today, it would not look good for them. Brother Mulin, don't worry. Elder Wang knows what he's doing. He's just teaching a little brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth a lesson. He won't hurt him. Young Master Lin Lai sneered as he turned to Mulin. Let's go. Let's return to the palace and discuss the marriage proposal. Marriage proposal? Even you dare to propose marriage to Luo Shi? Chu Fengmian laughed heartily when he heard Lin Lai's words. Why don't you take a look at yourself? A toad lusting after swan meat? You! Elder Wang, why aren't you doing anything? Seal his mouth first. Lin Lai was furious when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. However, it was not good for him to flare up, so he roared at Elder Wang. Yes. Elder Wang looked at Chu Fengmian and sneered when he heard the order. Little brat, speak less here and you'll suffer less. If you continue, don't blame me for being ruthless. Who do you think you are? An old man, an 8 Calamity Emperor Gu? I've killed more 8 Calamity Emperor Gu than you've seen. How dare a puny Emperor Gu be so arrogant in front of me? Chu Fengmian looked at Elder Wang and sneered disdainfully. Presumptuous. Elder Wang was furious when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. His palm was already above Chu Fengmian's head, and a huge amount of spiritual energy immediately suppressed him. Sword out. Chu Fengmian sneered when he saw the palm was about to fall. The World's Edge sword case appeared behind him and opened. 2 rays of sword light shot up to the sky. Kacha. The 10 fingers of the palm were all chopped off by the 2 rays of sword light. Ah! With a miserable shriek, the 5 fingers on old Wang's right hand were all chopped off. Blood spurted out from the wound. What? What a powerful sword light. That's the World's Edge sword case behind him? Elder Sword Bone's sword case is in his hands? Who is he? Since when did our sacred dragon mystery dimension have such a disciple? The group of 5 spirit sect saints did not pay much attention to the fight between Chu Fengmian and Elder Wang. When they heard the scream, they raised their heads and looked at the sky. They happened to see Elder Wang's right hand being chopped off by Chu Fengmian's sword light. Their faces were filled with disbelief. Elder Wang was a reputable expert in Qilin Mountain. Even Lin Lai respected Elder Wang. Now, Chu Fengmian had chopped off his fingers in one move. This made the 5 spirit sect Xingzi take a few more glances at Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian's strength was definitely considered strong among the Xingzi. Little bastard. I'm going to kill you. Elder Wang's face was distorted when his 5 fingers were chopped off. He was furious and used all his strength. He saw that Chu Fengmian was just an ant in the quasi-emperor realm. He only wanted to use some strength to teach Chu Fengmian a lesson. He did not expect Chu Fengmian to be a real dragon. Shut up! Chu Fengmian shouted coldly and suddenly threw out a palm strike. Old Man Wang's face was slapped and a large mouthful of essence blood spurted out of his mouth. At the same time, the spiritual energy that Elder Wang had just gathered was broken by the slap. A piece of trash like you wants to suppress me? Is Emperor Gu of Qilin Mountain all trash like you? A piece of trash like you doesn't have the qualifications to be on the same level as me. You're more suitable to be my servant. Chu Fengmian's body flashed and appeared behind Elder Wang. He threw out a palm strike at Elder Wang's shoulder. Under this spiritual energy, Elder Wang's body fell down and landed heavily on the ground. Both of his knees were on the ground. Chapter 1449. An ancient emperor, an 8 tribulation ancient emperor who was so arrogant just a moment ago. In the blink of an eye, he was kneeling before Chu Fengmian, looking extremely pathetic. The chosen of the 5 spirits sect were scared out of their wits. This was an 8 tribulations Emperor Gu. Among the chosen of the Holy Land, there were many who had the ability to defeat 7 tribulations Emperor Gu. However, there were very few who could fight against 8 tribulations Emperor Gu. After all, 8 tribulations Emperor Gu's strength was 10 times or even dozens of times stronger than 7 tribulations Emperor Gu's. The chosen of the Holy Land who had the ability to fight 8 tribulations Emperor Gu were considered above average. As for those who could defeat 8 tribulations Emperor Gu, they were all well-known figures among the chosen. Or perhaps they were chosen like Little Ju Di and Little Yi Di, who had received the inheritance of power. As for Chu Fengmian, everyone could see that he wasn't one of those chosen who had received the inheritance of power. Moreover, he looked like a newcomer. His strength, which could defeat 8 tribulations Emperor Gu in 2 or 3 moves, could no longer be considered with common sense. It was as if 8 tribulations Emperor Gu was as weak as an ant in Chu Fengmian's hands. Yan Hanshi, who had fought Chu Fengmian before, was extremely pale. Such strength was definitely 10 times stronger than his. If Chu Fengmian had wanted to, he could have killed him in one move. He was already being merciful by exchanging a few moves with him. Stop! Let go of Elder Wang! Lin Lai roared when he saw Elder Wang kneeling on the ground and being firmly suppressed by Chu Fengmian. Kid, are you trying to start a war between Qi Linshan and the Sacred Dragon's secret territory? Let go of Elder Wang. Apologize. Start a war? Qi Linshan is trash. I can deal with him alone. Who do you think you are? Chu Fengmian sneered when he heard Lin Lai's words. Luoxi is my woman. How dare you propose marriage to her? You're courting death. You, kneel. Boom. Chu Fengmian waved his hand and a wave of spiritual energy suppressed young Master Lin Lai. Young Master Lin Lai's realm was only that of the 7 calamities Emperor Gu. Even Elder Wang was no match for him. The moment he was struck by Chu Fengmian's palm, his face turned deathly pale. He was instantly subdued and his knees went soft. He knelt on the ground. One move. Just one move and Lin Lai was defeated, causing him to kneel on the ground. This kind of strength stunned the group of 5 spirit sect disciples for a moment. They were speechless for a long time. Young Master Lin Lai was equivalent to a disciple of the Holy Dragon Secret Dimension's Holy Sun in the Qilin Mountain. He was definitely a genius among geniuses. But now, he was being toyed with by Chu Fengmian like this, kneeling directly on the ground. You actually want me to kneel? I am the Holy Sun of the Qilin Mountain. My status is extraordinary and I represent the face of the Qilin Mountain. Kid, what you did today is provoking the entire Qilin Mountain. Young Master Lin Lai, who was kneeling on the ground, was still unconvinced as he roared loudly. Today, you're no longer someone who can be settled with just an apology. He had to personally go to Qilin Mountain and kneel down to apologize. Quickly let me go. Otherwise, I, Qilin Mountain, will never let you go. You still dare to spout nonsense? Hearing young Master Lin Lai's words, Chu Fengmian's eyes were filled with murderous intent. This young Master Lin Lai really wouldn't shed a tear until he saw the coffin. His incessant chatter made Chu Fengmian irritated. In the palm of Chu Fengmian's hand, a wave of spiritual energy was gradually condensing. Brother Chu, please have mercy. Mu Lin was the first to react. He hurriedly said to Chu Fengmian, afraid that Chu Fengmian would attack again. This time, Chu Fengmian had defeated young Master Lin Lai and Elder Wang and made them kneel. This was already a big deal. If Chu Fengmian killed them, it would really start a war between the Qilin Mountain and the Holy Dragon Secret Dimension. I won't kill him, but I have to make him shut up. Chu Fengmian coldly snorted and slapped young Master Lin Lai's face. Immediately, the tongue in his mouth was shattered. With a puff, he spat out a large mouthful of blood. At the same time, Chu Fengmian also left a seal in young Master Lin Lai's mouth. No matter how strong young Master Lin Lai's vitality was, he would not be able to reform his broken tongue. Right now, young Master Lin Lai could still make muffled sounds, but he couldn't utter a single word. Woo-woo-woo. Young Master Lin Lai stammered and could not say a word. He just knelt on the ground, but the hatred in his eyes did not diminish. Brother Chu's strength is admirable. Mu Lin looked at Chu Fengmian and said slowly. At this moment, a huge wave was set off in his heart. Even in his dreams, he did not expect Chu Fengmian to have such terrifying strength. An 8 Tribulation Emperor Gu and a saint of Qilin Mountain were defeated like ants in front of Chu Fengmian. They were all toyed within the palm of his hand. With such strength, Chu Fengmian would be considered one of the best even among the saints in the entire sacred ground. What made Mu Lin even more incredulous was that he had secretly asked Yan Hanshi about Chu Fengmian's identity. This was a newcomer. A newcomer who had just joined the Sacred Dragon Adversity had been promoted to a saint in just 3 months. Now, a newly promoted saint had such terrifying strength. This made these old people feel that they had wasted their lives. Mu Lin looked at Chu Fengmian. He simply could not see through Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian gave him an unfathomable feeling. It was as if Chu Fengmian did not use his full strength when he defeated Elder Wang and young Master Lin Lai. Brother Chu, you said that you are junior sister Luoxi's Dao companion? Mu Lin suddenly thought of Chu Fengmian's words and asked in disbelief. Yes, Luoxi is my Dao companion. I came to the sacred ground this time to look for her. Chu Fengmian nodded. I didn't expect to meet such a reckless guy. He actually dares to propose marriage to Luoxi? He's simply courting death. I'll spare their lives today, but the death penalty is unavoidable. They can't escape punishment. Chu Fengmian turned his head and said to Yan Hanshi. Brother Yan, can you do me a favor? Take the 2 of them outside and tell the others what will happen to those who dare to have designs on Luoxi. It's a piece of cake. Upon hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Yan Hanshi grabbed Elder Wang and young Master Lin Lai with both hands and dragged them out of the 5 Spirits Hall like 2 dead dogs. He made them kneel in front of the Five Spirits Hall. Chapter 1450. Elder Wang and Lin Lai were thrown out of the Five Spirits sect like dead dogs. Many people from the Holy Lands gathered around and looked at Elder Wang and Lin Lai, who were kneeling on the ground. They were shocked as they discussed among themselves. That's Elder Wang from the Qilin Mountain. And that's Lin Lai. Didn't they come to the Five Spirits sect to propose marriage? They were thrown out. Not only were they thrown out, but they are kneeling in front of the Five Spirits sect. Who did this? There's someone in the Five Spirits sect who has such strength. These two are big shots from the Qilin Mountain. Who has the guts to do this? Let's go. Since it's done by the Five Spirits sect, it has nothing to do with us. These two were so arrogant when they came to the Holy Lands. I didn't expect them to be such trash. Looking at the kneeling young master Lin Lai and old Wang, the corners of many chosen's mouths curled up in mockery. The four major forces were hostile to each other, although they hadn't fallen out with each other. But now, seeing young master Lin Lai and elder Wang being humiliated, to them, it was an incomparably satisfying thing. Brother Chu, should we let them go? If we let them kneel here, I'm afraid the Qilin Mountain won't let this go. Mu Lin listened to the discussion outside and whispered to Chu Fengmian. It's okay. If the Qilin Mountain dares to come, just say it's done by me. Since they dared to provoke my woman, I'm already giving them face by letting them kneel here. Chu Fengmian waved his hand and said disapprovingly. He wanted to show his power today. Of course, no one would let these two go. By the way, where is Luoxi now? She's in seclusion in the main hall. Mu Lin said hurriedly. Seeing that his persuasion was ineffective, he didn't say anything else. Lin Lai and elder Wang had been arrogant ever since they came. Even he couldn't stand it. Now that Chu Fengmian had taught them a lesson, he didn't intend to stop Chu Fengmian. At least for warriors of their level, it was a small matter as long as they didn't kill anyone. Let's go. Bring me to Luoxi. Chu Fengmian looked at Mu Lin and said. Let's go. With a flash, Mu Lin walked in front of Chu Fengmian and stepped into the main hall. The main hall was also covered with countless restrictive formations. Even the 8 Tribulations Emperor Gu could not break through them. Chu Fengmian followed Mu Lin. They passed through countless restrictions and finally arrived at the main palace. Senior brother Mu Lin, you're back? A few holy sons of the Five Spirits sect seemed to be having a discussion in the main hall. When they saw Mu Lin's arrival, they all stood up. What about young master Lin Lai and elder Wang? They were discussing some matters in the main hall when Mu Lin, young master Lin Lai, elder Wang, and the others suddenly rushed out. But now, only Mu Lin had returned. The two of them have offended brother Chu. As such, they've been punished to kneel before the Five Spirits Hall. Mu Lin turned to Chu Fengmian and said. This is brother Chu, the new holy son, Chu Fengmian. He's a guest of our Five Spirits Hall and also junior sister Luoxi's Dao companion. What? Mr. Lin Lai and elder Wang are kneeling before the Five Spirits Hall? What's going on? Junior sister Luoxi's Dao companion? Hearing Mu Lin's words, many of the Five Spirits sect disciples were stunned and said in disbelief. Their minds were in a mess. They did not expect so many things to happen in such a short period of time. They could not help but look at Chu Fengmian and size him up. They wanted to see what kind of person Luoxi's Dao companion was. After Luoxi came to the sacred dragon mystery dimension, she was pursued by countless geniuses. However, Luoxi had always claimed that she already had a Dao companion. Originally, everyone thought that Luoxi was just making excuses. They did not expect her to really come. Everyone must be Luoxi's senior brothers and junior sisters. Thank you for taking care of Luoxi during this period of time. This is a small gift to show my respect. Chu Fengmian looked at the 7 or 8 holy sons of the Five Spirits sect and moved his palm. Suddenly, 7 or 8 jade bottles appeared and flew towards a Five Spirits sect disciple. This Seeing the jade bottles flying out, the holy sons of the Five Spirits sect hesitated. "Brother Chu, we're all family. You don't have to be so polite." Mu Lin looked at Chu Fengmian and said. Chu Fengmian's strength was definitely one of the most monstrous geniuses he had ever seen. Although he had not received the power inheritance, he was not inferior to little Ju Di, who had received the power inheritance. With such talent, Chu Fengmian's future achievements were simply limitless. Especially since Chu Fengmian was Luo Shi's Dao companion, Mu Lin had the intention to rope him in. He did not expect him to take the initiative to give a gift. "It's just a small gift. It's not worth mentioning," Chu Fengmian said with a smile. "All right then. Thank you, Brother Chu." Hearing this, the holy sons of the Five Spirits sect accepted the jade bottles. One of the Five Spirits sect disciples opened the jade bottle curiously and took a closer look. In the jade bottle, there was a green elixir pill the size of a longan. In an instant, a fragrant medicinal fragrance wafted out from the jade bottle. "Earth Emperor Elixir? This is an Earth Emperor Elixir?" The Five Spirits sect's disciple could not believe his eyes for a moment and shouted in shock. "What? Earth Emperor Elixir?" The holy sons of the Five Spirits sect who had not opened their jade bottles hurriedly opened them. A green elixir pill the size of a longan was reflected in their eyes. This Earth Emperor Elixir was considered a substandard product of the primitive Emperor Elixir. It was far from being comparable to the primitive Emperor Elixir. However, it was enough to increase the chances of an expert at the level of Emperor Gu by 10%. For true emperors below the level of Emperor Gu, an Earth Emperor Elixir was almost 100% chance of increasing their cultivation by 1 level. Although this elixir was not as precious as the primitive Emperor Elixir, it was still at the level of an ancient sacred elixir. If placed outside, each of them would be priceless. For a moment, the holy sons of the Five Spirits sect did not dare to accept it. This gift was too precious for them. "It's just a small elixir. It's not worth mentioning." Chu Fengmian looked at the crowd and said with a smile. He had obtained hundreds of sacred elixirs from the treasury of the 9 mystic immortal sovereign. Almost all of them were ancient sacred elixirs. Giving away such a small amount was nothing to Chu Fengmian. "Thank you, Brother Chu." The holy sons of the Five Spirits sect accepted the elixir and thanked Chu Fengmian. "Brother Chu, junior sister Luo Shi is inside. I'll help you call her." You're tuning into the Mythic Realms YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.